name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
We love Great Britain. We love its history, its culture and its tradition, and that's why we're so proud to be part of GB News.
You look genuinely emotional. Oh, come here.
GB News does pay attention to those who are ignored by the mainstream media. The majority of this country whose forefathers fought and died to maintain liberty, to fight for freedom of speech.
The rule of law, the rights of property and democracy. This is the heritage that our country should be so proud of.
Which of course includes our Christian heritage. There's been a huge resurgence in the number of people going to church. Perhaps they're not finding what they're looking for, and they're looking for something a bit deeper, a bit more truthful, a bit more akin to Britain's Christian heritage.
That's right, get ready, because the most exciting night in general election history starts now!
Hello, how are you? Good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock. It's Saturday, the 30th of May. It's the weekend on GB News. Thanks so much for your company. With you till 3 o'clock. Many more migrants will attempt to cross the English Channel this weekend after dozens of migrants arrived on the south coast yesterday after making the journey in small boats. Meanwhile, the government is considering AI technology to help determine the age of Channel migrants to root out those who falsely claim to be children. Also on the show...
Is your premiership now over?
No, but we were elected into office by millions of people to bring about change in this country.
Does it matter who leads Labour into the next election? What's the point in changing leader? Because if they're going to lose whoever's in charge, well, it doesn't sound like a comeback is on the cards. We'll discuss that. And where is Keir Starmer? Radio silence from the Prime Minister over the murder of Henry Novak. Why does he seemingly have nothing to say? Prostate cancer screening is to be rolled in, not out, despite being proved to save lives. It's inhumane, the fact it's not being rolled out. That's what MPs have said this week. So is the state taking men's health seriously enough? And will Arsenal sweep to victory again as fans prepare for the Champions League final tonight? I'm sure Keir Starmer's got something to say about that, but is he right that the game should be free to watch? A new Netflix documentary is investigating the 1992 murder of Rachel Nickel on Wimbledon Common. Now, that led to a wrongful conviction and the killer remaining free for years. Why did so much go wrong in this shocking case? And as the youth unemployment crisis reaches fever pitch, I'll be speaking to a 13-year-old entrepreneur who is certainly defying the odds. I'm Christo Fufas. Your weekend starts here. Now, on anything we are discussing, obviously, we want you to join the conversation. It's nothing without you telling us what you think. Go to gbnews.com/your say. Join the conversation. You can even scan the QR code on the screens now. That's how easy we've made it for you so that you can get involved. But before we get stuck into anything that we're discussing today, well, let's get you up to date with the latest news headlines.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 12:03. Donald Trump has outlined his demands for extending the ceasefire with Iran following a meeting with top aides in the Situation Room yesterday. The US president says Iran must agree to never have a nuclear weapon, that the Strait of Hormuz must be reopened, and that any mines in the waterway are destroyed. Iranian officials say its nuclear program is not up for negotiation, but discussions are ongoing. Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the US is ready to restart attacks on Iran if a deal can't be reached. Australia, the UK and the US are working together to develop an unmanned undersea vehicles as part of their AUKUS Defence Pact. The programme includes plans to develop hypersonic capabilities, artificial intelligence and cyber technologies. At a summit in Singapore, the Defence Secretary John Healey said for too long the trilateral pact had under-delivered, but added that's now changed and reaffirmed Britain's funding of £6 billion over this Parliament.
For too long with AUKUS, we've talked too much and delivered too little. That has now changed, and today we confirm also the first ever signature project under Pillar 2 of AUKUS. This will rapidly give our forces the very most advanced battlefield technologies, as together we produce a range of cutting-edge sensors and weapons systems for undersea drones.
The UK could send more RAF jets to defend NATO's eastern flank after a Russian drone strike injured 2 people in Romania. The drone hit a block of flats in the east of the country near the Ukrainian border. Sir Keir Starmer's described the incident as a serious violation of NATO airspace, and 4 RAF Typhoons are already based in Romania, with Defence Secretary John Healey saying more could be deployed, warning President Vladimir Putin's war is spreading beyond Russia and Ukraine. Hundreds of migrants are currently making their way across the English Channel from France. The first of 3 small boats have already arrived in the UK. It's after 130 people made the journey yesterday. Meanwhile, it's been revealed the Home Office is spending more than £1.2 million a year on Channel rescue boats. The fleet has aided the crossing of more than 70,000 migrants since Labour came into power in 2024. Questions are being raised in Washington over the transfer of Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell to a minimum security prison. Maxwell was moved shortly after being interviewed by a senior Justice Department official, with US lawmakers saying the timing appears too coincidental. Later released transcripts show during the interview she denied witnessing any inappropriate behaviour involving President Donald Trump and called him a gentleman. The government has welcomed a vote by Royal Mail workers to accept a deal on working arrangements and pay. Members of the Communication Workers Union accepted the pay offer worth 4.5%. The Business Secretary Peter Kyle says British posties work hard, but we now need to see a big improvement in Royal Mail performance for its loyal customers. A new study has revealed younger women who suffer from insomnia are more likely to develop some forms of cancer. Data was collected from 19 million people aged between 18 and 50 over a 5-year period. Among them were 400,000 diagnosed with insomnia, who were found to be 3 times more at risk of developing breast cancer and twice as likely to get uterine cancer. Both are hormone-related. And Universal Music Group has rejected a reported £48 billion takeover offer. The music giant, which is behind artists including Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter and Kendrick Lamar, says the proposal from investment firm Pershing Square significantly undervalued the business. The company's board says it remains confident in Universal's long-term growth strategy and its position as a global leader in the music industry. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you at past.
Hey, it's Christo here on GB News. Welcome to the weekend. And let's start with some breaking news this afternoon. The first of at least 3 migrant dinghies has made it to UK waters today. This follows the arrival of dozens of migrants on the south coast yesterday after making the journey in small boats. Meanwhile, the Home Office is spending more than £1.2 million a year on new Channel rescue boats. That's as the government prepares to introduce AI technology to help determine the age of migrants arriving via the Channel in a bid to identify those who falsely claim to be children. Well, there's lots to unpack there. In the studio, joining me, GB News political correspondent Olivia Utley. Let's start with, obviously, the latest figures. Probably not surprising. Good weather. Last weekend, I think we saw over 1,000 arrivals. This weekend looking like it's not a dissimilar story.
Well, absolutely. And the government has been, rightly, I suppose, proud that this year, so far in 2026, the numbers of small boat migrants are down on the numbers coming in 2025. But, and this is a big but, those numbers are now creeping up. We've had a week or so of warm, dry weather without much wind. And we know those conditions are perfect for migrants who want to come over here and for the people smuggling gangs who are bringing them over. And actually, in the year so far, up to 2026, May 2026, where we are now, it's been a pretty wet and windy start to the year. So perhaps the reason why the numbers have been down is actually the weather more than any government policy.
That was going to be actually my next question. Is it circumstantial that the numbers are down, or is it anything that the government is actually doing that they can brag about?
Well, I think we'll have to see, because I think it would be unfair to the government to immediately say that there's nothing the government has done that has made any change. The government would argue that this new deal that it's struck with France, £616 million deal, is making a difference. And we do actually know that some of these people smuggling gangs, they aren't able to operate in the same French beaches that they were operating in a few months ago. Of course, the issue is they are just moving down the coast and operating on different beaches. And I think that's the issue again and again with this story, that these gangs are so nimble, they're so quick, they're so professional, they're so slick, they just can change what they're doing, they can change their whole operation far faster than the government can act. I think that we'll have to make an assessment on this, closer to the end of the year. If by December numbers genuinely are down on 2025, then I don't think we can put it all down to the weather, because over the course of a whole year, the weather will sort of equal out. But I think it is possible that over the next few weeks, if we continue with this spell of warm, dry weather, then we will see those boatloads coming over. And it wouldn't surprise me if, even though numbers are currently down 35% on last year, they quickly catch up again.
Do you know what? I barely heard anything more you said after the words £616 million. Do you know that? It's just... I just don't... I think our people listening and watching at home will hear that number and just will not be able to get their heads around how that amount of money can be handed over and how it's not zero.
No, it does seem astonishing. I mean, it's not dissimilar to a deal that Rishi Sunak agreed back in 2023.
Just keep giving the money.
Keep giving the money and hope that it makes some sort of a difference. The difference this time is that the deal includes £160 million, which is apparently conditional on the French actually making a dent in the numbers of migrants coming over here. When I asked the Prime Minister's spokesman exactly what conditionality meant, would the French literally not get the money if those numbers don't go down, the answer's Well, no, not really. They probably will get the money anyway. It's dependent on the French making some sort of an effort. Well, you'd hope that £500 million would be enough to make them make some sort of an effort. 160
million
has been ring-fenced for the French to build a detention centre in the north of France. But that idea has come under fire now from a French environmental group who are objecting to the plan to build this detention centre. So that's all wrapped up in red tape as well. As is so often the case with this issue, we seem to be going one step forward and two steps back.
Make it a log cabin. It could be beautifully environmentally friendly. OK, just briefly, this AI story today that we've heard about, so the government wanting to use AI to tell when someone arrives, this isn't stopping them coming, whether they're a child or not. Are you sceptical of that, or is it a good use of technology?
Well, it's an interesting idea, because what's happening at the moment is because we are getting so many small boat migrants coming over here, the system becomes overwhelmed, and you get people who are very clearly adults, grown men with beards, turning up in secondary schools because they have claimed to be under 18, and because the system is so overwhelmed, no one has called them out. The idea is that you could use AI technology to scan photos of migrants when they reach the border, and the technology would be able to say whether or not they are under 18. A nice idea in theory. I think the problem could be the human rights lawyers. I can't imagine human rights lawyers taking this lying down. They would object to the AI technology, and yet again, I can see it all getting caught up in a legal quagmire. But maybe that's a little bit defeatist of me. Let's see how it goes.
All right, Olivia, thank you very much indeed for giving us the latest. And actually, we're going to be talking to an expert in AI, actually, the Associate Professor and Programme Director of Artificial Intelligence at the University of East London, to get the lowdown on that in just a few minutes' time. But for now, let's talk to the former Independent Chief Inspector of Borders and Immigration, John Vine, who joins us live on GB News. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us this afternoon, John. So what's firstly your reaction to the fact that the weather gets better, more migrants come, this is just a boomerang story? It keeps coming back round, doesn't it?
Well, it does. We've been talking about it since 2018. Good afternoon, Christo. I mean, at the end of the day, the defence of our borders shouldn't rely on the weather at all. It should rely on professional action by Border Force to prevent people from arriving here in this way. And, of course, we now know, since the people started travelling by boat, we count people in. We never really used to know how many people arrived illegally because they arrived in all sorts of ways which we didn't know about, but now we count them in, and the French count them in. At the end of the day, we're spending a lot of money to ask the French police to intervene on our behalf. But of course, we have no control over their actions. And whilst, you know, I hear what Olivia says about the 160 million, which is earmarked for, like, you know, assessing the performance of the French police, there's very little practical way in which we can enforce that. And so what we need to see is action taken on the beaches to prevent the boats being launched in the first place. There's supposed to have been, as part of this deal, a new squad of police trained to wade into shallow waters and to prevent taxi boats from launching. But we've never seen any evidence of that since the announcement. So there are lots of things that we don't know about what's working well with the government strategy and what isn't. And as Olivia has said, you know, although the figures are down this year, there were 3,700 arrived in May last year compared with this year. If you look at the figures for June last year, we're looking at over 5,000 in June last year. So if the weather remains as it is, I think at the rate that we're seeing at the moment of arrivals on small boats, we'll be up near that figure by the end of June unless something remarkable changes.
I just want to read you a couple of very quick comments from your say on this. Paul says the 616 million should allow the UK to just return people from anywhere in the Channel. None should reach British shores. That should be the deal. Megan says, why on earth are we paying the French anything? Because it's a safe refugee country. And so there is fury from GB News viewers today at that kind of figure being thrown around. What's your reaction to that?
Well, the Home Secretary, as part of the negotiation on the deal, tried to get the French to agree to the British boats returning migrants to the coast of northern France. That would have been a bit of a game changer. But I have to say that the French didn't agree to that. So unless you have an actual deterrent, which means that when people hand over the money, they know that they're not going to reach the UK, or they're going to be returned to France or other countries from whence they came pretty quickly, then this trade will continue. In effect, what organised crime are doing is supplying a service to people whose demand is, to come to the UK. It seems to be insatiable.
All
and
right.
unless you can't use enforcement alone to actually deal with this problem. There needs to be something political which addresses the problem in the first place.
All right, former Independent Chief Inspector of Borders and Immigration, John Vine, thanks for taking the time to talk to us here on GB News this afternoon. OK, well, if that made you furious, this might cheer you up. Time for the great British giveaway, your chance to get a ton of tax-free cash. You don't have to give it to the French either, and it'll all come in time for summer. An incredible £76,543.21 could be yours. Here's all the details you'll need for a chance to win.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. Just make sure you don't miss your chance to win £76,543.21 for a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Thanks for your company this afternoon. It's Christo here on GB News. Now, the government is considering AI technology to help determine the age of those channel migrants, to root out those who arrive and falsely claim to be children. We'll be delving into that story next, right here on Britain's News Channel. It's GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on a BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
From court mornings,
To warm family brunches.
from football to tennis in the car,
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hey, nice to see you. It's the weekend with Christo here on GB News. Now, we've got a big weekend for sport, by the way. Big day for sport today, so we'll be bringing you the latest on that. And then, a little later, we'll be talking about what on earth the point is in changing Labour leader, because I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. But for now, the Home Office is spending more than £1.2 million a year of your money on Channel rescue boats. That's as the government prepares to spend more of your money introducing AI technology to help determine the age of migrants arriving via the channel. This is in a bid to identify those who falsely claim to be children. Well, joining me now is Associate Professor and Programme Director of Artificial Intelligence at the University of East London, Dr. Mustanzar Ghaznafar. Hello there, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us here on GB News. So, firstly, is AI any good at detecting people's age? How accurate is it?
I mean, that is pretty accurate, but I mean, for this particular scenario, it will miss the borderline cases. If the age of person is 16 to 20, I would say it would not be that accurate. It can give you a good band, but it can miss the borderline cases. So this is a concern that it's not that accurate for this particular scenario.
What's the point then? Because isn't AI being used in order to determine the borderline cases that you can't tell by sight whether someone is the age that they claim they are? So if you can't tell by a human looking, and if AI isn't very good at the borderline cases, what is the point?
I mean, the point might be they are having a new system to check how it goes. It can be assistant tool. So AI can flag you saying this candidate looks like 16 to 20 precisely. So what then a human can have more judgment, like they can add more documentation or interviews and so on. But AI alone, I would say, would be pretty bad in saying this person is 18 or this is 16 due to the ethnicity, external factor. You know, many kids, they have the malnutrition, and especially the factors like the ethnicity plays a major role. So AI would be assistant tool for the humans to have the further evidence like documentation or interviews, or might be other things to augment the decision. So it's good to have it, but I would say this is an assistant tool.
I mean, if they've got the... I know that you're not a government spokesperson, I want to make that clear, but I mean, anyone watching along or listening would be saying, well, hang on, if you need the documents as well as the AI, then why do you need the AI? I'm sorry, I can't get my head around this.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very good question. I mean, AI is cannot be used and should not be used in the high-stack legal systems. According to the GDPR, we have some acts as well. Like there's Article 18, which says you cannot solely rely on the AI decisions. And especially this decision is very high stake. I mean, you can see if there's a false positive, the consequences for the kid can be very high. So I would say definitely they are trying it. They are not trying to replace it due to the GDPR constraints as well. So it would be a good tool to check how it goes.
But also, you've raised a really good point there, in as much as doesn't this really open up the government and any entity that's used this AI program up to legal challenges? Because they can say, well, look, your AI said that I was 17, but actually I'm still claiming I'm 15. So therefore, I'm going to challenge this AI.
Definitely. As I talked about Article 18, yes, anyone can do that if they have read the GDPR guidelines, yes. Because we cannot rely on AI on the high-risk environment. It's there. So anyone, they should be, because the door is open. It's a gray area. As I said, the article is there. So you cannot rely on that solely. So that's why my assumption is they are using it as a screening tool. Then they have a human layer where they are having more evidence to make sure the flagging by AI is accurate.
OK, listen, Dr. Mustan Azhar Ghazanfar, thank you for taking the time. That's the Artificial Intelligence Professor and Programme Director, Associate Professor at the University of East London. I mean, it's mad, right? So if they need the documents to go along with the AI, then what's the point in the AI? And if they don't have the documents and they're only going to use AI, well, then that's going to open them up to legal challenges. So, again, what's the point? Do you know what? I just constantly feel like the government is just clutching at straws. Do you remember when they did that when Keir Starmer came back from, I think it was China, and he had this big thing, right, that he'd managed to stop 60% of the businesses that give the engine parts for dinghies, managed to stop them supplying those parts. And it's just so random, one in, one out. That didn't end up happening. Smashing the gangs, and now AI. It is just so random, scattergun, nonsensical approach. That's what I have to say. gbnews.com/your say here on GB News. Well, coming up, we're going to bring you the latest on the sport. It's a big day for that, and I shall be deciphering something called football. You can help me along with that with me, Christo, here on GB News. Loads more coming up. But first, let's get you up to date with your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. The headlines at 28 minutes past 12. Donald Trump has outlined his demands for extending the ceasefire with Iran following a meeting with top aides in the Situation Room yesterday. But Iranian officials say its nuclear program is not up for negotiation and no deal has been reached yet. Australia, the UK and the US are working together to develop unmanned undersea vehicles as part of their AUKUS Defence Pact. The programme includes plans to develop hypersonic capabilities, artificial intelligence and cyber technologies. Hundreds of migrants are currently making their way across the English Channel from France. The first of 3 small boats have already arrived in the UK. It's after 130 people made the journey yesterday. And a 16-year-old boy has been charged with murder after a 15-year-old was stabbed during a fight outside a house party in East London on Monday. Those are your latest news headlines. I'll have more for you at 1 p.m.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Hi there, it's Christo here on GB News. It is the weekend. Loads coming up as well. We'll get some more of your comments. We're going to be talking about the football in a moment, all of that and more. In fact, he's here now because it is a huge day of sport. Aidan McGee.
Christo, good to see you. Yes, you could say it was a big day of football, certainly. I mean, we had the tennis yesterday. We'll come on to that shortly, but the football today.
Now, Arsenal.
Yes.
Everyone's talking about Arsenal. Keir Starmer is talking about Arsenal. Arsenal, did they win the Premier League? Were they top of the Premier League?
They did, yeah, first time in 22 years.
I know about football. There's nothing you could teach me about football.
I know that. I never doubted it.
And now they are playing in another important
Yes, Champions League final this evening against Paris Saint-Germain in Budapest. All eyes on that stadium this evening. Arsenal have never won the Champions League. It's a major bugbear of theirs over the decades because there are big names like Chelsea on there, on the trophy, Manchester City, Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool, Manchester United. They're all on the trophy, but Arsenal do not have a distinguished history in terms of European competition. They won the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1994. Since then, absolutely nothing. They got to the Champions League final. Go on.
Well, hang fire.
Yeah?
Because I know you have more to tell us. And I cannot wait. I'm on the edge of my Arsenal seat here. It's even red.
Yeah.
Even I know that they play in that colour. And so we'll bring you more on this in just a moment, right here on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Another hot day to come across the southeast before turning fresher, cloudy across the northwest, outbreaks of rain, and then for all of us, turning fresher on Sunday. Low pressure sits to the northwest, high pressure still making an influence across much of England and Wales today. So plenty of blue sky out there. Might turn a little bit hazy at times with some high level cloud, but a damp picture across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Outbreaks of rain here, a little bit breezy as well. But in the sunshine across the southeast, temperatures rising, so up to 29, possibly 30 degrees. The odd shower might break out across the northwest, 15 to 19 degrees. As we go through Saturday evening then, well, it's a damp picture across much of Scotland. Outbreaks of rain could turn heavy at times over the hills. It's Northern Ireland, especially across the southeast, where we could see some thunderstorms developing later on in the evening. So some torrential downpours are possible here. Elsewhere across England and Wales, some cloud will build in, but otherwise a warm evening to come. As we head through Saturday evening and overnight, spells of rain persisting across Scotland, moving its way north and eastwards. Those showers continuing to push their way into Scotland as well, still heavy in nature before further showers arrive across Northern Ireland. Across the southeast, dry here, and it is still rather warm to start Sunday morning. Temperatures around 12 to 14 degrees. As we start Sunday, there will be outbreaks of rain across much of Scotland. Actually, this band of rain is going to be quite slow moving, and there'll be some showers, especially across the northeast of Scotland, that could turn heavy and thundery. Elsewhere, it's a day of sunny spells, showers, a bit more in the way of cloud, and for all of us, it is going to be feeling fresher out there. Highs this time around 24 degrees. Bye-bye.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Thanks for your company. Nice to see you. It's Christo here on GB News, and it is the weekend. By the way, coming up, we're going to be talking about what on earth the point is of changing Labour leader when I don't think much is going to change in the polls and much is going to change in the country. Can't wait to hear what you've got to say about that. But still joined by Aidan McGee, talking sport. Still here, despite our better judgment. But no, you've actually got some breaking news from Liverpool. What's going on?
Yes, absolutely enormous this, because although we weren't hugely surprised by it, it's the timing that's caught everybody off guard, and that's that Liverpool have parted company with their manager of 2 years, Arne Slot, the Dutchman who was hired 2 years ago to replace the outgoing, the legendary Jurgen Klopp. It was announced just probably in the last few minutes that he's going to leave. Now, look, it's not a huge surprise in terms of the trajectory of how things have been going this season, because in his first season taking over from Klopp, that's 24-25, he unexpectedly delivered a Premier League title. They didn't even sign that many players, and people were saying, well, actually, was Klopp actually that good? Because this bloke's just come in and delivered a Premier League title. I think in 9 years, Jurgen Klopp only managed one, and this guy did it straight away. Last summer, Christo, they then started opening the purse strings. They started buying players. £100 million from Germany for Florian Wirtz. Milos Kerkez, £40 million from Bournemouth. There were other signings as well. It wasn't his fault that it didn't work out because Alexander Isak joined from Newcastle, but he was injured straight away. But nonetheless, it didn't help them very much at all. And look, this season has been nothing short of... Look, they qualified for the Champions League, but it was disastrous in other senses.
So why did they do that? Why, when they had what would appear to be a winning formula and they had done really well, did they then decide to spend loads of money and change it?
Because the feeling was that the money should have been spent the year before. They decided not to spend it for whatever reason. The team did well, and they thought, well, hang on, we've got to refresh at some time. What do teams do when they're at the top? What did Man United used to do? They spend even bigger and make themselves even stronger for next year. Liverpool tried to do that. Everyone could see the rationale behind it. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I was among the people saying, wow, they're going to be even stronger next season, but they flopped. 12 defeats in the Premier League from 38 games. Nowhere near good enough if you're going to mount a title challenge. Go on.
Well, you said at the start the timing is significant.
Yes.
Why is the timing significant?
Because they've done it on a day when we're all going to be talking about Arsenal. And football clubs are run like political parties these days.
So it's one of those shoving out the bad news when something else is happening.
It's Joe Moore 2001. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I was going to say that. It's Joe Moore 2001. That was on the... I can't believe you...
You remember the case, though, don't you?
Yes.
No. She resigned over it, didn't she? But, no, it's interesting because football clubs are like that. They just... I mean, I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago in the FA Cup final, Chelsea were on a downer because they'd lost the FA Cup. They decided a final against Manchester City at Wembley. All their fans are sad, and just as the fans are leaving the stadium, they announced they've got a new manager to sort of lift everybody. So they're hugely political. Timing is everything. I don't even know if Liverpool are planning to announce it today, but they've chosen a day when everyone's going to be talking about Arsenal. All the focus is going to be on Budapest. Most of the top journalists in the country are going to be over in Budapest and will not want to be filing this story right now. But that's the way it is. But that's not to say it won't get maximum coverage. It's Liverpool, so it's inevitable. But let's just take you back to what happened this season. 20 defeats in all competitions. They were nowhere in the Champions League. They didn't get far in either of the domestic cups. You have Mo Salah, their most celebrated player, probably the most successful Premier League player ever, the Egyptian prince. He came out halfway through the season and he never used to speak to the media, but he made a point after Leeds away in, I think it was November, of going up to accosting some supporters and saying, I want to speak to you. I want to speak about this car crash of a manager. I'm out of the side. He doesn't want me. He doesn't rate me.
That is political.
Yes.
That is like your Home Secretary, your Chancellor, breaking ranks and going to the media saying this Prime Minister's rubbish.
But why wouldn't you? These players are worth tens of millions of pounds now. Their transfer fees owe in excess of £100 million. They earn... Mo Salah was earning something like £450,000 a week. There are huge value to be attached to the idea of PR. They have to get their PR right. They don't want to leave their clubs. If they have to walk down the street for the rest of their lives with their fans hating them, well, at least do so having put your side of the story across. And it's so important. That's why football clubs employ PR firms. That's why players employ individual PR firms. They have social media firms. It's getting every bit like political parties. No question about it. It mirrors politics every day of the week.
And is 2 years a bit of a rubbish tenure then?
For a club like Liverpool, they're not used to sacking managers that regularly. So for context, it's a good question, actually, because Jurgen Klopp served nine years. Brendan Rodgers before that, I think it was 4 years between 2012 and 2015. Prior to that, it was briefly Roy Hodgson and Kenny Dalglish. But prior to that, Rafa Benitez did, 2004 to 2010. So they're not one of those clubs who sack managers regularly. Look, some other clubs change their managers as often as they change their underpants. But that's by the by. Liverpool don't sack managers very often. They believe in stability, but they obviously feel that the problem with this manager in the here and now, and the season just gone, had reached a point where it was no longer working. When Mo Salah issued a tweet, I think 2 weeks ago, last week, the last day of the Premier League season, saying that we have to get back to what he just called heavy metal football. That's what Jurgen Klopp described his players. He said we need to get back to playing as we did under Klopp. Not only is that undermining the manager, but the worst thing about it, Christo, was that all his teammates weighed in with a like. They approved his tweet.
But it's
or his ex-post. Yes, it is.
Because like a year ago, he won them this thing, and then like now they're like, well, actually, sorry, you've had a bit of a bad run. You got to go.
Life's fickle, and players and managers and even fans these days are dispensable. If you speak to top clubs, they know they don't really care what fans think that much, because they know that if the one fan goes, they've got another 9 ready to step in and pay for that season ticket. Football is that popular, and with the insatiable desire of fans to have success, it's inevitable that it's easier to sack one manager than it is to sack 15 players who aren't doing it on the pitch. That's the reality of the situation. Having said that, Arsene Wenger said to me 20 years ago, he said, if the manager is not the most important person at a football club, Aidan, then why is he the first person to be sacked? And never a true word was spoken.
Well, Anne, on your say, says, Aidan, using your name, I'd like to say. Premier League footballers do not earn their money. They get paid megabucks for being good at kicking a football.
So what? There's a demand out there, isn't there? You could say that about absolutely anything. What about pop stars? They get paid bucket loads for singing a song. These guys have a skill. Is there massive demand for it?
Don't you come for Madonna? Don't you dare! Don't you dare! Okay, I hope Arsenal...
No, they do. That's the market. They do earn the money. Some would say they should earn even more.
The thing is, I agree with that, actually, because if I'm telling you now, if they didn't get bums on seats, they wouldn't be paid it.
No, of course not.
It's that simple.
Exactly.
Look, you could say that about any industry.
There are lots of sports who don't get bums on seats, and that's why they get paid a pittance. Despite their level of attainment and level of expertise, skill, strength, whatever.
Grumpy Granddad says, I hope Arsenal get hammered only because...
Oh, that was me writing it earlier.
Only because Starmer supports them.
Yeah, well, Starmer was interesting.
That's interesting, isn't it? That people have become anti-Arsenal because... I wonder how Arsenal feel about Keir Starmer, that unpopular, or is a fan of theirs.
True, but I felt he had a point earlier in the week, actually, when he spoke out against TNT, who are the rights holders for tonight's Champions League match, saying that this match should be free to air.
Why?
Why? Because
how much have TNT paid for it?
Well, they paid a lot of money, probably in excess of £1 billion. However, UEFA are not comfortable with this because the fewer eyeballs are on this match, and if you keep going down that route, then people will soon find other things to do. And this was the problem when Sky lost the rights in 2013, going into 2015.
People used to complain about endlessly when Sky got the rights.
They did.
Remember?
Yes, they did. But if you remember back to 2003, you can blame the EU for this. They decided that the rights had to be proliferated. They had to be pluralised across several different channels. All it did was that it meant that the punts had to buy 3 subscriptions instead of 1, and there was nobody moaning about it at all. But if we talk about the Champions League specifically, yes, they used to moan about the payment of it, but at least it was free. At least you could watch the final for free. What BT used to do, and the turning point was when Warner Brothers bought BT and turned it into TNT. When it was owned by BT themselves, they made it free to air the final on YouTube, irrespective of whether it was an English club involved or not. Tonight should be free to air, but it isn't. But you know, you're just going to have to go to the local booth and watch it if you haven't paid for it.
I'm sorry to say, and perhaps I'm wrong, and perhaps I'll get, accosted by Arsenal fans when I leave here, and I could think of worse fates. But I'm sorry, it's capitalism. And how much? Yes. How much did TNT pay for this? That's precisely why. Why would you?
Yeah, in excess of £1 billion.
Why would you? Why would you pay a fortune for these rights and then not actually have your fans charged for it?
Consider this. The advertisers will be annoyed tonight because their products are not being seen, their adverts aren't being seen by as many people, and that's what will bring pressure to bear. I'd be shocked if next year the Champions League was not back on free to air, as I think it should be.
It's socialism.
I'm no socialist.
I'm no socialist. To be free. Let's throw it. The problem with socialism is you run out of
other people's money.
and we're running out of TNT's money. Actually, they're going to run out of money. So what is your prediction for Arsenal?
Tonight, you know what? I think they have to score first. They've got a defence as good as anybody in the world. Pressure, I mean...
What's the score, Coach? Just give me a score.
All right. I think they're going to win it 1-0.
A 1-0, that's such a rubbish win.
The rubbish win.
You get 1-0.
You win 10-0 or 1-0, you get to lift the trophy. No. That's all they will care about.
I always think, when I'm watching England, when I do turn into a football hooligan, I always think you need...
I can see you as a hooligan in that suit.
I absolutely not. I don't wear pastel colours, I tell you that.
No, you get to see your tattoos.
I won't tell you where. But seriously, I always think you need a second goal to seal it, just to show that you are the winner.
You do.
It's not a fluke, you've got the second goal.
Well, PSG got 5 goals in last year's
there
final.
You go.
So that means that Arsenal have got to be wary, and most of that team is still together. But there was an old adage back in the 90s, 1-0 to the Arsenal to the tune of Go West by the Pet Shop Boys. It still endures today, and I think that might be the score tonight to the Gunners.
You had me at Pet Shop Boys. You really did. Aidan, thank you.
It's a sin.
Nice to see you. It is when you say that. It's Christo here on GB News. Loads coming up on today's show. We're going to be talking in the next hour about what on earth the point is in replacing Keir Starmer for yet more dross, frankly. But now, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading away this weekend, there will be some showers here and there across eastern areas of Europe, but mostly plenty of sunny and dry weather. You can see a few showers dotted around Greece and Turkey. Italy seeing the odd shower as well, but mostly it's going to be a predominantly dry and sunny picture if you're heading to parts of Europe. Across Madeira and to the Canary Islands as well, there'll be plenty of warm sunshine. Temperatures generally in the high 20s, if not low 30s. Have a good day.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, I love this story. He's English footballing royalty, but the looming World Cup this summer in North America isn't the reason that Gordon Banks is in the news. No, it's for a far more shocking and mysterious reason. His grandson, Ed, has enlisted the help of investigative journalist Gabriel Gatehouse in the new podcast Foul Play to interrogate the staggering claims that the World Cup winning goalkeeper, get this, could have been poisoned by the CIA at the 1970 Mexico World Cup. It's the front page of The Observer today. Despite that, Gordon Banks pulled off one of the most iconic moments in football history when he made an incredible save, and what a save it was, to keep out Pele's header in a game against Brazil. Here he was reflecting on that a few years ago.
He says, I travel all over the world, he says, and people talk about the goals that I scored, he says, but when I come to England, all they talk about is that save that you made to me.
What a guy. Well, with me now, I'm pleased to say, is Gordon Banks' grandson and the host of the Foul Play podcast, Ed Jervis. Ed, great to see you. Thank you for joining us on the Late Show Live. This story is fascinating, so I'll let you explain, but long story short, it was the 1970 World Cup. England were favourites alongside Brazil. England ended up playing Brazil in the latter stages of the tournament, and first of all, was it Bobby Moore got arrested for stealing a bracelet in Colombia, but then, more personally, Gordon Banks, your grandfather, suddenly went down ill, the only squad member to get ill, and he had to miss the game against Brazil, right? And eventually England were knocked out of the World Cup.
Yeah, well, it was actually... sorry to correct you. It was West Germany, but the meeting. Oh no, it's absolutely fine. The meeting was all about the final, and the chat was about whether England would meet Brazil in the final. They'd played in the group stages. My granddad had made that save against Pele in the group stages.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Thanks for your company. It's Christo here on GB News, and it is the weekend with you until 3 o'clock. Now, loads that you've been talking about on Your Say. We'll get to that in just a moment. But want to tell you, in the next hour, we're going to be talking about what the point is in changing Labour leader. Interesting front page on that, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that, because I think it's just absolutely pointless, because if they can't win the next general election anyway, what is the point? Really interesting story as well in the newspapers today about the murder of Rachel Nickell. Now, do you remember that story from 1992? Absolutely heartbreaking murder on Wimbledon Common, and you remember her little boy was found literally clutching her body, trying to get her to wake up. Him and his father have never spoken before. There's a new Netflix documentary which outlines how they rebuilt their lives, and they've given an exclusive interview to The Mail. We're going to be dissecting that in the next hour, and we're going to be talking about men's health as well. So loads that we've got coming up. But let's find out what you've got to say about everything that we've been talking about this afternoon. I hope Arsenal fans put on a good show to welcome the Prime Minister and sing his anthem loud and clear. I dread to think what that anthem is. I have a feeling that it's not going to be an anthem full of kindness. That's all I will say. Another one here, talking about the AI story. Remember earlier we were talking about artificial intelligence being used to determine the age of migrants. Christo, the professor on earlier, saying AI isn't that accurate at determining the age of illegal immigrants. This is from Glyn. And that's because they've thrown their documents into the sea whilst breaking into the sea. So stop the benefits, you stop the boats, simple. The other point of illegals trying to challenge our decisions is rubbish. I won't use the word you've actually used there, but is bull, shall we say. How can they challenge any decision when they can't prove their age because there's no documentation? I rest my case. Well, I suppose they could challenge the AI, and also the professor said something about GDPR as well. There will be loopholes. You know there will be. And do you know what there is as well? A queue of human rights lawyers who will be literally going through that AI stuff as we speak, looking for loopholes and then doing no win, no fee. You know that that's what's going to be happening. A few others here as well. gbnews.com/your say. Jill says, surprise, surprise, no other channels seem to be reporting on the boats. Yep, that's because you get it right here on GB News. James Downey is not very happy about the RNLI and British border farce. Well, of course, many of you want them just to be turned back. But of course, the problem with that is that you've got a lot of the Navy and a lot of the RNLI and a lot of places like that saying, well, look, actually, that goes against the seafaring nation that we are, and actually you could hurt people by doing that. The vessel might not be seaworthy, whatever else. And so that is why, in fact, and I've spoken about this before, a few years ago, I don't know if you remember this story, but I think both Priti Patel and Suella Braverman, when they were both Home Secretaries, I think it was Priti Patel, but they attempted to instruct the Navy to stop the small boats, to intervene and turn them back, and the Navy refused. And that, of course, brings into question Reform's plans, because Reform want to instruct the Navy to do that, but the Navy are on record refusing. The Ministry of Defence actually sent out an ex-post during that time saying, we will not do this because we think that it puts lives at risk. So it's interesting to see if we do end up with a Reform government, or whatever government we might end up with going forward, if they try and do this and try and turn back boats using the Navy and the Navy refuse, they're either going to have to legislate and have enough of a majority to make the Navy do it, or create a new border force that is aside from the Navy, where their express instructions are literally just turning back the boats. And that's a level of detail I think we need from Reform, because Reform come on and talk about that a lot. And I'm not knocking Reform. I think a lot of people like those sorts of ideas, but we need to get to the crux of what they would actually do to facilitate that happening. So an interesting one there from you. Everything Labour do is nonsensical, says Rover. Everything they say is false narrative. They hide behind false facts and figures, and they seem to enjoy wasting good, honest, hard workers' tax money. I can't use the words I want to, so let's just say things will make no difference just to please the backbenchers. I honestly believe this lot on the front bench, including Starmer, have never forgiven the British public for voting for Brexit, and what we're seeing is what they had planned all along once they got into power. Most of what was in the manifesto was never going to be implemented or watered down if it were to be. Well, talking of which, coming up in the next hour, we'll talk about what the point is in changing Labour leader. Will anything actually change at all? But first, let's take a look at your latest weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last of the hot spell today, especially in the southeast, with cloud and outbreaks of rain in the northwest before turning fresher with sunshine and showers through Sunday. So high pressure still situated across much of England and Wales. Northwestern areas, that's where we have the influence of low pressure. So a wet end to the day across Scotland. Northern Ireland could see some heavy downpours with thunderstorms as we head through this evening and overnight. They'll continue to push their way north and eastwards, all quite slow moving though, so could merge to give some longer spells of rain. Across the far southeast, that's where we hold on to the dry and clearest skies, but still rather warm. Temperatures here still holding up around 15 or 16 degrees. So still quite a warm, mild start to Sunday. Across Orkney and Shetland, that's where we have persistent rain to start the morning. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain still could be on the heavy side, and that's a similar picture across North Northern Ireland with a mixture of sunny spells. Across northern England, showers, and likewise for northern parts of Wales. Across the southeast, though, should be a bright start to Sunday morning. But for all of us, it is going to be feeling fresher out there. We have a change in air mass. There's more in the way of cloud through Sunday. Scattering of showers, mainly out towards the west. Longer spells of rain across Scotland and its northeastern areas of Scotland, where we could see some heavy, possibly thundery showers. But like I mentioned, with that fresher air in place, temperatures closer to the average for the time of year across the southeast now, highs of up to 24 degrees. Through Sunday evening, we'll still see spells of rain across Scotland. A few showers in the mix elsewhere, but they'll start easing. And then as we head to start meteorological summer, well, it turns downhill. Low pressure moves in to bring perhaps some welcome rainfall and temperatures returning to average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, it's 1 o'clock, it's Saturday 30th of May, it's the weekend on GB News with me, Christo.
Is your premiership now over?
No, but we were elected into office by millions of people to bring about change in this country.
Answer me a question, does it matter who leads Labour into the next election? And will they just lose whoever is in charge? Or do you think there's any chance they could make a comeback? Prostate cancer screening is to be rolled in, not out, despite it being proven to save lives. Is the state no longer taking men's health seriously? A new Netflix documentary is investigating the 1992 murder of Rachel Nickel. Now, that led to a wrongful conviction. The killer walked free for years. Why did so much go wrong in this shocking case? And where is Keir Starmer? I mean, that is not a question we ask very often, is it? But radio silence from the Prime Minister. And this is on the murder of Henry Novak, an absolutely shocking case. And he seemingly has nothing to say. And as the youth unemployment crisis reaches fever pitch, well, we'll have a good news story for you. A 13-year-old entrepreneur who's defying the odds. And we'll have reaction to the huge story that we brought you half an hour ago on GB News. Liverpool have sacked Arne Slot just a year after he won the Premier League title. I'm Christo, and this is The Weekend. Oh, and you are going mad on Your Say, arguing and telling me the answers to the questions that I've been putting out there for you. We want you to continue doing that, discuss all of the stories we're talking about today. gbnews.com/Your Say. Join the conversation. You can even scan the QR code, which is on your screens right now. Loads for us to get stuck into. But first, let's get you up to date with the latest news headlines.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 1:02. We'll start with some breaking news. Liverpool have sacked head coach Arne Slot after a disappointing defence of their Premier League title. The team have lost 19 times this season, leading fans to turn on the Dutchman. Sources insist the decision was taken with enormous reluctance, admitting it doesn't feel fair to sack a coach who has won the club's second league title in just 30 years. Liverpool FC says Slot leaves with a Premier League title to his name and the club's deepest gratitude and respect. Donald Trump has outlined his demands for extending the ceasefire with Iran following a meeting with top aides in the Situation Room yesterday. The US president says Iran must agree to never have a nuclear weapon, that the Strait of Hormuz must be reopened, and that any mines in the waterway are destroyed. Iranian officials, though, say its nuclear program is not up for negotiation and that discussions are ongoing. The Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the US is ready to restart attacks on Iran if a deal can't be reached. Australia, the UK and the US are working together to develop unmanned undersea vehicles as part of their AUKUS Defence Pact. The programme includes plans to develop hypersonic, artificial intelligence and cyber technologies. At a summit in Singapore, the Defence Secretary John Healey said for too long the trilateral pact had under-delivered, but added that's now changed and reaffirmed Britain's funding of £6 billion over this Parliament.
For too long with AUKUS, we talked too much and delivered too little. That has now changed, and today we confirm also the first ever signature project under Pillar 2 of AUKUS. This will rapidly give our forces the very most advanced battlefield technologies, as together we produce a range of cutting-edge sensors and weapons systems for undersea drones.
Meanwhile, the UK could send more RAF jets to defend NATO's eastern flank after a Russian drone strike injured 2 people in Romania. The drone hit a block of flats in the east of the country near the Ukrainian border. Sir Keir Starmer has described the incident as a serious violation of NATO airspace. Hundreds of migrants are currently making their way across the English Channel from France. The first of 3 small boats have already arrived in Dover. It's after 130 people made the journey yesterday. Meanwhile, it's been revealed the Home Office is spending more than £1.2 million a year on Channel rescue boats. The fleet has aided the crossing of more than 70,000 migrants since Labour came to power in 2024.
A 16-year-old boy has been charged with murder after a 15-year-old was stabbed during a fight outside a house party in East London on Monday. Police were called to Hackney South after 7 p.m. following reports of a large gathering, disorder and people with machetes in Towpath Walk. Brian David Saldariaga from Haringey was found with stab wounds in Polar Close, and despite efforts by emergency services, he died at the scene. And the government has welcomed a vote by Royal Mail workers to accept a deal on working arrangements and pay. Members of the Communication Workers Union accepted the pay offer worth 4.5%. The Business Secretary Peter Kyle says British posties work hard, but we now need to see what he's called a big improvement in Royal Mail performance for its loyal customers. Those are the latest headlines. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Right, so it's Christo here on GB News. Thanks so much for your company. It is the weekend. Coming up, by the way, we're going to be delving into everything that went wrong on that horrific case of Rachel Nickell, her murder back in 1992. Plus, we'll be talking a bit about men's health as well. So stay with me for that. But a lot I want to talk to you about when it comes to Labour. Interesting front page on the Eye Weekend today. Burnham would face battle to beat Farage in general election, polling says. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because, of course, there is potentially a battle for Labour leaders coming up. We're not sure whether that's going to be happening. Starmer is still Prime Minister. And it looks like, if this polling is to be believed, that Labour's best chance of a new leader to win the next election won't beat Nigel Farage. So my question is, what's the point? What is the point in going through all of this nonsense? What is the point in changing Labour leader? What is the point in this self-indulgent claptrap of them all talking to each other and being so insular with each other when no one really cares? And most importantly, I don't think that anyone thinks that anything will change. Whoever is Prime Minister, whatever leader that we have of the Labour Party at the moment, or in the next few months, or whether we stick with Keir Starmer, nothing is going to change. Now, of course, it's all very interesting for the media and for political geeks like me and for some of us that follow it and for some of us that want to report on it and people who are real aficionados on this. But for you, and the things you care about day to day and your life getting better, well, do you genuinely think that anything would change if we had a new Prime Minister? Genuinely? Because I don't. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why I don't think it would change. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why this is just a nonsense, self-indulgent festival of lefties all arguing with each other and not thinking about anyone outside of Westminster and probably North London in a wine bar, one of the few that's still open, that Rachel Reeves's tax rises haven't caused to close. It's because of the fact that Labour, for months now, I would even go so far as to say almost years, have only been talking to their backbench. That's it. It's the only people they talk to. Keir Starmer, any policy he comes up with is just for the backbench. The backbench smelt blood when they didn't get through even quite moderate benefit cuts. And so any leader that comes or any leader that remains, if Keir Starmer stays, anything they do will have to be through the prism of keeping the Labour backbench happy. And keeping the Labour backbench happy means keeping with high taxes, keeping with a massive benefits bill, probably not really clamping down that hard on immigration because it goes against the principles of those people on the backbenches. And so nothing will change. I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but nothing will change. And if they're not even likely to win the next general election as a result of this, then what is the point? Let me know if you agree. gbnews.com/your say. I would love to know whether you think this is just a self-indulgent festival of them all talking to each other and not the rest of the country. Well, joining me now to discuss this is the leader of the Social Democratic Party, William Clouston. Hello there, William.
Hi, Chris.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to us this afternoon here on GB News. I mean, I don't mean to be defeatist, but I can't help but feel like this is very insular and very sort of Westminster-esque, and everyone sort of talking about it and who's excited about it are all political aficionados. But actually, I think the person on the street, there will be no significant change to their life if they change leader. And as it turns out, no significant change to Labour when it comes to their prospects in the next election. So what's the point?
Well, I think that you gave a very good review. And what we're witnessing in the failure of governments to see through with the same leader that was elected is just a political crisis, a sort of symptom of decay in the political system. You're quite right, it won't change anything substantial, because anything substantial has to be got through the Labour backbenchers, whose attitude is childish and innumerate. As you say, you saw that on modest welfare reform. But it will do a couple of things. I mean, if Burnham were to become Prime Minister, it would probably give a temporary boost to the Labour Party. I think that's undoubtedly true, because you could hardly be worse than Starmer. Burnham is probably more likeable. He's certainly a better communicator, political communicator than the Prime Minister, so it would do that. But I agree, all the chronic problems that we care about, the problems that seem to be intractable, the open border on the south coast, the housing crisis, the energy crisis, which the Labour Party is making worse with net zero, and all the other issues, the trade deficit, the fiscal deficit, all of those remain. And Burnham is on record as taking a really quite a foolish and embarrassing view of the bond market, saying that if he were leader, he wouldn't kowtow to it. He's going to find out the hard way if he comes into government like that. So I agree, nothing much substantial will improve our lives, and therefore I think the Labour Party's prospects at the next general election are poor, whoever leads it.
Can we widen this discussion out a bit, just away from solely Andy Burnham? Because I do want to talk about some of the other contenders as well that are being mooted. I mean, we don't know that they're contenders at the moment, but Wes Streeting, Angela Rayner, potentially Ed Miliband. I mean, my worry is that whether it's them or whether it's anyone else, there will be a temporary boost and a temporary reprieve when it comes to the way in which the media view them and the way in which those real Labour loyalists view them, because everyone will say, well, there you go, it's another reset, it's the ultimate reset. Or those loyalists will say, well, look, you know, give them a chance, give them a year, give them 2 years, whatever. And so I take your analysis that you just mentioned about Andy Burnham, but really I think it could apply to Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband, Wes Streeting, anyone else that is being mooted as a potential leader, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, of the ones you mentioned, I think probably the most politically competent is probably Miliband. And actually, I've said, I'm on record as saying that I've thought for a long time he'd be the most likely next leader. Why? Because if you look at the actual electorate, which is mainly the PLP and then the Labour members and some unions, among that constituency, Miliband is the most popular. And although it is crazy and it's beggaring the country and it's deindustrializing energy-intensive industries, his net zero proposals are popular among that constituency, and they matter in terms of the vote. Rayner, I think, would be an utter disaster. I don't think she's intellectually capable of withstanding a job like that. I think it should be out of the question, in my view. Streeting is not popular among the PLP and look at Labour list. I mean, he makes speeches about rejoining the EU and preposterous proposals like that because he's unpopular. I think, frankly, in that electorate, he's too, in inverted commas, centrist or right-wing to be elected as Labour leader. So I don't think it'll be him. But as I say, I don't think it makes any difference. I don't think it makes any difference. I don't take polls, projections 3 years forward to the next generation very seriously. I don't think you can do that. I think you can have a view, you can have your own view based on political history in terms of what you think might happen. Political history says the Tory party slowly recover. That's what it says. And I know I've said that to a lot of people, and people think it just can't happen, given the betrayals on the Boris wave and the rest of it. But history says they slowly recover. And I'll just flag this up for you in terms of the next general election. In British political history to date, the biggest challenge to the two-party system is that of my party in the 80s, the SDP. And in March 82, the SDP was polling at over 50%, right? And we ended up getting 25% with the Lib Dems. So you've got to, if I were a Reform, I mean, Reform are doing very well, but if I were a Reform supporter, I would question whether they're actually doing well enough to win a general election outright.
Sorry, I'm still literally shivering at the fact that your words were that Ed Miliband is the most politically competent out of that lot that you just listed. Honestly, I feel like we've got splinters on our knuckles from the bottom of the barrel being scraped. William, really good to talk to you, even though I think I'm quite depressed now. That's William Clouston, who is the leader of the Social Democratic Party. Now, obviously, you just heard some discussions about the economy and tax there. The Conservatives are proposing to scrap stamp duty as well as business rates for certain high street businesses and give a £5,000 tax cut for young people entering work for the first time. Reform UK have today pledged to scrap income tax for earners over £75,000 working over 40 hours a week and cut business taxes. The Liberal Democrats are focused on restructuring capital gains tax, setting up a department for growth. Meanwhile, the Green Party has pledged a carbon tax to drive fossil fuels out of the economy and a wealth tax of 1% annually on assets above 10 million. OK, well, we can't give you assets of over 10 million, but we can, with the Great British Giveaway, give you £76,543.21 in time for summer. That could be yours. Here are all the details on how to win.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. Just make sure you don't miss your chance to win £76,543.21 for a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Christo here on GB News. Thanks for your company. Now, prostate screening is being rolled in, not out. That means we're not getting it, even though it's proved to save lives. Are we not taking men's health seriously enough? Well, we'll try and answer that question next, right here on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nice to see you this afternoon. It's Christo here on GB News. Thank you very much indeed for your company. And coming up, by the way, you'll remember it was the murder that absolutely shocked the nation back in 1992, the killing of Rachel Nickell on Wimbledon Common. Well, we'll be exploring exactly what went wrong in about 10 minutes' time. But should we be taking men's health more seriously? Britain is to ration prostate cancer screening despite lagging behind much of Europe on survival rates. The former Prime Minister, Lord Cameron, who said his life was saved by screening, called the decision a real step backwards. In fact, it's been reported today that some MPs have called that decision inhumane. Now, prostate cancer is the most common cancer in men in the UK, with around 63,000 diagnoses and sadly 12,000 deaths annually. Well, joining me in the studio now is health expert Thorin Govind. Hi there, Thorin. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us and join us today. I want to juxtapose this firstly with the front page of today's Guardian. Breast cancer tests to cut need for chemotherapy. And I think that's a really good thing. Who is going to be against a new test or a new advance that is going to make breast cancer something that is more detectable or easier to treat? But it does feel like every day there is a new headline about breast cancer or one of the cancers that affects women, whereas this prostate cancer situation, which is an easy test to try and determine whether someone is going to get it or indeed has it, is being ignored. Well, so my question to you is the one I posed a moment ago. Why aren't we taking men's health and why aren't we taking this more seriously?
So I think comparing men and women in this case, I don't think this is the way to go. I actually think we need to recognise some of the unique challenges that men face. So we know that suicide rates, for example, are really high in young men. And we know that men don't always seek help and treatment when they need to. You know, they sometimes send their partners or they will avoid coming into the pharmacy or accessing healthcare until it's a bit more urgent.
Right, but I think, though, that if I was... I take what you're saying, and it isn't always helpful to do the comparison, but I feel like men's health is not taken as seriously anymore. I'm sorry to say it, and I'm sorry to do the comparison, but let's talk about the suicide rates before we get back to the prostate story from today. I think if there was any other way that young men were dying, other than them taking their own lives, I think that we would be talking about it endlessly. More young men die from suicide than any other cause of death put together, right, if you're under 45. And I can't help but feel like that men are the unintended. I don't think there's some terrible conspiracy going on, but I think that because women's health has been, for many decades, was not taken as seriously as it could have been, we've almost overcorrected now, and we really, really focus on women's health. And we should. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but men's health has kind of suffered a little bit as a result of that. Would you think that's a fair assessment?
I don't think that's a fair assessment, because I think even with women's health, things like the menopause, even now, we still have access issues. I'm dealing with medicine shortages when it comes to HRT for menopause. So I don't think we should break it down quite like that. I think what we should hope for and want in a system is for everyone's individual needs to be taken care of as best as possible, and for you to go and access healthcare and it be the most appropriate thing for you at that time, and you to be able to have the time to go through the risks and benefits of treatment for you as an individual. That said, we are working in a massive system, whether that be an NHS or private, and we need to make sure that people are also catered for in an NHS system. The system is trying to cater for everyone whilst also cater for one individual. So I think it's a huge challenge. And people don't often know what the symptoms are of some of these conditions, which is why I always love coming and talking to you, because I feel like getting out there and really speaking directly to the public about some of these health issues is fantastic.
We'll talk about the symptoms of prostate cancer in a moment, but you'll be aware, and many people who have joined us today will probably be aware, that it was on Thursday that government advisors ruled that the vast majority of men should not be offered prostate screening. And this is after 120 MPs, including Rishi Sunak, former Prime Minister, as we heard there as well, David Cameron, asking for wider screening for men at risk of the disease. In fact, it was late last night that he said he promised to keep fighting. Why, when it would be such an easy win to save lives, but also, being cynical, a PR win as well, would the government not choose to roll this out?
OK, so the PSA test isn't used alone to diagnose prostate cancer. There needs to be, its symptoms are considered, testing is done, and what they've looked at here is for 1,000 men who are screened in their 50s, 2 lives would be saved over the course of 15 years, but 20 men would be overdiagnosed, so they will be told that they had cancer but would never need treatment, and 12 men would be unnecessarily treated. So what we have to think about is, again, back to that risk versus benefit of any screening tool or even any medicine, we are always thinking about what the pros and cons, especially for the individual, but also at a system level.
Prostate cancer is the most common cancer in men in the UK. 63,000 diagnoses, 12,000 deaths annually. I think a lot of people will hear those figures and not really understand. Just before we go, can you just tell me if anyone is worried, or what the kind of symptoms that they should be looking for of prostate cancer?
OK, so if you're having difficulty urinating, it could be stop-starting. It could be that you're experiencing erectile dysfunction. Those are some of the symptoms. My real message out there is, please, if anything just doesn't feel right, I ask patients, keep a little log, even if it's over the case of a week or so, and then go and speak to your pharmacist, who's available late night and open into the weekends. They're a great initial first point of call, but then it may be that we actually need to suggest you go and see your GP for a more in-depth appointment.
And just go to your GP. Just go to your GP. And I know getting an appointment at your GP is more difficult nowadays than your mortgage application, but genuinely just get in front of your GP and just say what's going on. And even if you feel stupid, or if you're told it's all okay, nothing wrong, at least you know you've done it.
I think, anytime we are encouraging people to access healthcare, it's about thinking about where you can access that support. So, like I say, going into your pharmacy, you can speak to someone pretty quickly. We're pretty busy, but we're really open to a conversation with people. And it's about thinking about what's not so usual for you. If it just doesn't feel right for you, don't be afraid of asking and finding out more.
Thorin, really good to talk to you. Thank you for giving us that update. That's health expert Thorin Govind. All right, in a moment we'll be re-exploring one of the most shocking crimes of the last 35 years, the murder of Rachel Nickel. That's with me, Christo, here on GB News. But first, let's get you up to date with the latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. Headlines from the GB newsroom. Liverpool have sacked head coach Arne Slot a year after he led the team to win the Premier League. But the team have lost 19 times this season, leading fans to turn on the Dutchman. Liverpool FC says Slot leaves the club with their deepest gratitude and respect. Donald Trump has outlined his demands for extending the ceasefire with Iran following a meeting with his top aides in the Situation Room yesterday. But Iranian officials say its nuclear program is not up for negotiation and no deal has been reached yet. Australia, the UK and the US are working together to develop unmanned undersea vehicles as part of their AUKUS defence pact. The programme includes plans to develop hypersonic artificial intelligence and cyber technologies. Hundreds of migrants are currently making their way across the English Channel from France. The first of 3 small boats have already arrived in Dover. It's after 130 people made the journey yesterday. And a 16-year-old boy has been charged with murder after a 15-year-old was stabbed during a fight outside a house party in East London on Monday. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you at 2 o'clock.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Loads coming up here on GB News. It's the weekend with me, Christo, and as I said, in a moment we're going to be re-exploring one of the most shocking crimes of the last 35 years. You might remember it was the murder of Rachel Nickel on Wimbledon Common back in 1992. Really interesting new documentary and series on Netflix about that, and the family have spoken for the first time. And of course, gbnews.com/your say if you want to join the conversation on anything that we've been discussing. All of that and more right here on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Another hot day to come across the southeast before turning fresher, cloudy across the northwest, outbreaks of rain, and then for all of us, turning fresher on Sunday. Low pressure sits to the northwest, high pressure still making an influence across much of England and Wales today. So plenty of blue sky out there. Might turn a little bit hazy at times with some high level cloud, but a damp picture across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Outbreaks of rain here, a little bit breezy as well. But in the sunshine across the southeast, temperatures rising, so up to 29, possibly 30 degrees. The odd shower might break out across the northwest, 15 to 19 degrees. As we go through Saturday evening then, well, it's a damp picture across much of Scotland. Outbreaks of rain could turn heavy at times over the hills. It's Northern Ireland, especially across the southeast, where we could see some thunderstorms developing later on in the evening. So some torrential downpours are possible here. Elsewhere across England and Wales, some cloud will build in, but otherwise a warm evening to come. As we head through Saturday evening and overnight, spells of rain persisting across Scotland, moving its way north and eastwards. Those showers continuing to push their way into Scotland as well, still heavy in nature before further showers arrive across Northern Ireland. Across the southeast, dry here, and it is still rather warm to start Sunday morning. Temperatures around 12 to 14 degrees. As we start Sunday, there will be outbreaks of rain across much of Scotland. Actually, this band of rain is going to be quite slow moving, and there'll be some showers, especially across the northeast of Scotland, that could turn heavy and thundery. Elsewhere, it's a day of sunny spells, showers, a bit more in the way of cloud, and for all of us, it is going to be feeling fresher out there. Highs this time around 24 degrees. Bye-bye.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in, the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to The Weekend. It's Christo here on GB News. And by the way, you are chatting in your droves, you'll say, about that prostate screening story. I'm going to get to some of your comments on that a little later on, so stay with me for that. And then after 3 o'clock, by the way, 2 o'clock I should say, sorry, we're going to talk about the murder of Henry Novak, a story that has been utterly heartbreaking, and I'll be telling you about that a little later on. But let's talk about another shocking story. It was back in 1992. I don't know if you remember this, but it was the killing of the young mother that became one of this country's most famous and controversial police investigations, and it's now back in the news. It was on Wimbledon Common that Rachel Nickel was stabbed to death in front of her 2-year-old son back, as I said, in 1992. Now, the police were really criticised for their investigation. It saw Colin Stagg charged and acquitted. It wasn't until 2008 that murderer Robert Napper was finally convicted of killing Rachel Nickel. Well, Netflix is now releasing a documentary. It's accompanying a 3-part drama series. But of course, there are many, many aspects of that case and many of the police failings that still haunt those people who remember that case years later. Let's talk to Mike Neville, who's a former Scotland Yard detective and crime historian. Thanks so much for joining us, Mike.
Yeah, hello, Christo.
You know, I was really young when this case happened, but I remember it so clearly. I mean, it might be an obvious question to start with, but what do you think, as a crime historian, what do you think it was? What were the elements of this case that made it so unbelievably shocking at the time?
Well, the actual brutality, the murder, first off, she was stabbed 47 times, and as you say, in the presence of her 2-year-old son. So the sheer wickedness of the thing, you know, so the wickedness of the crime. I was a young PC at Clapham at the time. The other things that stand out is that this was before the Stephen Lawrence murder. So the Met didn't have its own murder squads. So murder squads were drawn together from officers from all over the place. So they weren't as organised as they should have been. The other thing is, of course, is that DNA was in development. So the DNA that eventually convicted Napper wasn't uncovered until at least 10 years later. And the worst thing about it is it has the sort of elements of the Yorkshire Ripper case, where the police focus on one element of the inquiry in the Yorkshire Ripper case, or the man's got a Geordie accent. Here, they identified Colin Stagg as a potential suspect, and then just abandoned seemingly all other lines of inquiry and pursued Stagg with these ridiculous letters trying to get him to confess to murders and stuff, with some WPC acting as a sort of agent provocateur. So they're the several things that really stand out to me.
The reason that this is back in the news is because of this documentary and series that's going to be, excuse me, on Netflix this week. And it's with the full consent of her son and her partner, who are talking in the documentary that accompanies this series. And reading their first interview in years is absolutely heartbreaking. Her little boy, who is now a man in his 30s, even though he was 2 years old, remembers every single detail of that fateful day and was able, even though he was only 2 years old at the time, and this is all explained in the interview today, was able to give a really, really thorough description of the person that did this, the killer. But the police were absolutely sure that there couldn't have been two people who wore a white T-shirt that was tucked into a belt in the park at the same time, and so they absolutely decided that it was Colin Stagg, rather than pursuing another person who'd already been convicted of murders.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows, Christo, that the police are put under enormous pressure, you know, and the actual crime, and this pressure can lead to foolish decisions, as we saw with George Oldfield in the Yorkshire Ripper inquiry, as we saw with the senior investigating officer in this inquiry. So the police officers ultimately are human. They make some humans make very bad mistakes, and in this case, it was really bad mistakes. And as I say, the trouble is in police work is to be drawn down a rabbit hole and not to stop. And this is exactly what happened. They were determined to convict Stagg. And of course, at the time, DNA wasn't there as developed as it could have been. And all those extra, and the wonders of forensic science, of course, ultimately lead us to Napa being convicted. And so at least the family were given that. But these things impact on families for the rest of their lives. And my heart goes out to the Rachel Nickell's partner and her son.
And that is the thing, I think. It's the anger that you get from these interviews, of the fact that it took so long, 16 years, in order for a conviction to be secured in one of the most, if not at the time, the most high-profile case that had been around for years. And I suppose you must understand that anger.
I do understand that anger, but all the time, you know, crime sometimes, if people are just so wicked and evil, they do these things, they are hard to find. DNA advances, we can see here what happened here. The DNA that was available in 1992 was no way the same as it was available in 2003 when they found the new sample. That, of course, then leads to Napa, and you can get a real conviction. But it just, if nothing else, it shows the determination of the police ultimately to find the killer. There was a review team. They took on the case and they ultimately cracked it. But sometimes crimes do take a long time to solve.
They do, but then also I think what's most unforgivable about this case was not that they went for the wrong guy, because that happened. It was the fact that they went for him using a honey trap. And I think even at the time, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but didn't the judge severely criticise the case when the case was thrown out? It was Colin Stagg. We've shown a picture of him on the screen. That his life was ruined for years afterwards. Before they found Robert Napa, there was still a shadow cast over him, and the judge absolutely went mad at the methods that the police had used.
Absolutely. And for those who can't remember that far back, what ultimately happened is that the senior investigating officer tasked the female officer to befriend Stagg and then sort of twist it and say, oh, I really enjoy violence. If you'd have done that murder, I would really love you even more. And it was so much entrapment. It was unbelievable. And of course, when all this evidence arrived at the Crown Court, the judge threw it out. So there was simply no evidence at all to link Stagg to the murder.
So just briefly before you go, what are the differences today that you could be confident that the police would not have to employ that kind of tactic on a similar crime?
So the police have dedicated murder teams who are used to doing the cases like this. The levels of DNA analysis and what's available to the police is far better. There's far more CCTV and digital evidence. You know, would tell us the exact time of her death, say if she was wearing an Apple Watch. So you've got all these advancements as well as the professionalism of the police, and there's far more recording of decisions and reviewing of them. So, which would ultimately, I think, help to stop the police going down one of these rabbit holes like we saw in this case and in the Yorkshire Ripper.
OK, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. That is the former Scotland Yard detective and crime historian Mike Neville. Well, coming up just after 2 o'clock, we'll be talking about another absolutely shocking crime. I'll be giving you my thoughts on the murder and the failings of the police on Henry Novak. That's coming up. You're with me, Christo, here on GB News. But if you're in search of some holiday sun now, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading away this weekend, there will be some showers here and there across eastern areas of Europe, but mostly plenty of sunny and dry weather. You can see a few showers dotted around Greece and Turkey. Italy seeing the odd shower as well, but mostly it's going to be a predominantly dry and sunny picture if you're heading to parts of Europe. Across Madeira and to the Canary Islands as well, there'll be plenty of warm sunshine. Temperatures generally in the high 20s, if not low 30s. Have a good day.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Hello, Tom.
Who's this?
I don't know much about you, but I've seen you on TV and I don't think I like you. Only joking, give us a hug, mate.
Oh, amazing. Hello. Oh, fantastic. That is, goodness me. So how long have you had this particular bear?
Well, this one's called RR Bear. That stands for a car name. It was given to me after certain... Well, we won't go into what happened with it. But anyway, I have two of these. Ah. This is the male version, and then the female version is there because she's found love. With another bear called Mafia Bear. I don't know what... Do we have the picture, Lulu, as our producer? Because they found love.
Now, I find... we had this discussion this morning before we came in, and I was thinking, gosh, well...
You can't see him!
He's been decapitated by our
there you go.
banner. Now,
he's not happy about that.
Now, I suppose we should ask everyone at home, do you have a teddy bear? Are you sort of living out your Brideshead Revisited idea of adulthood? I have to say I did have teddy bears growing up, but I don't have any of them with my in my house in London.
Did your family take them away from you?
No. They are all very happily in my childhood bedroom.
Oh, no, so cute.
But back up in Cambridge rather than here in London.
I used to have my favourite teddy bear was called Pandy, and my parents tried to get rid of it because it turned out I was allergic to it because it was contaminated with house dust. And they took it to the jumble sale, the school jumble sale, and I actually went to the jumble sale and bought it back.
Wow.
And I thought I had two. Mark White.
Well, our very own teddy bear in the studio.
No, Mark White, he's a teddy bear. That little Scottish teddy bear. Do you have a teddy bear? You have.
Come and give your grandpa a couple.
You have.
I had an elephant.
And what was your elephant called?
Chunky.
Just elephant.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Nice to see you. It's Christo here on GB News. You are, of course, with The Weekend here till 3 o'clock. And by the way, then Queen of GB News, Nana Akua, takes over at 3. But I'm here with you until then. So thanks for your company. And, of course, you have been joining the conversation in your droves. We've been talking about the prostate screening or lack of it for men, gbnews.com/your say. We've been talking about the failings around the Rachel Nickell murder back in 1992. I'm not sure whether that refreshed your memory, some of what you might have heard about that. And, of course, the wrongful arrest of Colin Stagg, the eventual conviction of Robert Napper. Really, really fascinating story. And as I see it, has joined the conversation, as I said, gbnews.com/your say. Police failings, Sarah Everard, Stephen Port, David Carrick as well. You're quite right. I mean, it's interesting to say that we learn lessons from back in 1992, but there have been failings since then that don't seem to have shown that the police learn lessons. And in fact, in about 10 minutes' time, I shall be giving you my scathing review of what I think about the way in which the police handled the murder of Henry Novak as well, which is undoubtedly, I think, one of the most heartbreaking stories. And we'll talk about that a little later on. Patrick says, I remember Colin Stagg and the story of how the police of all ranks wanted a conviction regardless of who was convicted. And they did the same with the Guildford Four. And the police knew that they were innocent, just like Stagg. Thank you for that one as well. Another one here as well. Come on, says Mayflower. The police set a honey trap. Well, that's exactly what they did with Colin Stagg. Absolutely what they did with Colin Stagg. And I think that actually it was a complete failure. It was a complete and utter failure. And the judge, the comments from the judge, I remember them at the time, were absolutely scathing about the way in which the police had done it. Because, as you heard from our guest, the police got him to write letters, the honey trap that they'd sent. She'd said that she was into violence and kind of wished she had a guy that was violent against women, and really trying to lure him into admitting something that he hadn't done just because he happened to be on Wimbledon Common at the same time that day. Unbelievable. And I'm going to be, I don't know about you, but I love these sorts of documentaries, which is just a horrible thing to say when they're about things that are so hideous. But I'll definitely be watching this on Netflix. And I think actually Colin Stagg is interviewed for it as well. So it'll be interesting to hear his reflections years later. Another huge police failing was the Yorkshire Ripper, says grumpy old True Brit. Absolutely correct. And of course, with the Yorkshire Ripper, it was Wearside Jack. Now, Wearside Jack was the guy that had sent cassette tapes, and he was Geordie from the Wearside, calling himself Jack, and he was a hoaxer. And the police became absolutely fixated on this guy, therefore meaning that any other leads, and they'd spoken to Peter Sutcliffe many, many times during the investigation, they couldn't cross-check what was going on at the time because they didn't have the computer technology to do so. It was all done by paper files. And they dismissed him because he didn't have a Geordie accent, because they became obsessed by these tapes, which turned out to be false. And actually, it was years later they got a conviction on those tapes, and that was from the DNA from the envelope of the person that had sent them. And I think it was about 30 years later they got that conviction. So you're absolutely right on that one as well. Another one here as well on the subject of the prostate screening that we were talking about on that one earlier, and about the lack of it, by the way. Many of you saying, actually, that you have been saved. And Nanmar says, I go to the chemist and GP with my partner, and he often leaves and lets me discuss his embarrassing needs. I think women are better at chatting about medical stuff over a coffee and a meet-up. Recently, he needed his prostate removed after 18 months living with a catheter in situ. We went private, and the best decision that we made. Thank you very much indeed for that one. This is a disgusting decision, says John, on the subject of prostate screening not being done. My prostate cancer was caught early through PSA testing. Even when I was gowned up awaiting a biopsy, the surgeon told me it was a waste of time as I was under 55. But luckily, I ignored him. John, another one, Sarah, says my husband had to insist on a PSA blood test. Good job he did. A positive test has led to major surgery. All men from 40 years old should be offered a test. OK, it's Christo here on GB News. And coming up, we're going to be reflecting on the murder of Henry Novak and those horrific failings. But first, let's get you up to date on your latest weather forecast.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last of the hot spell today, especially in the southeast, with cloud and outbreaks of rain in the northwest before turning fresher with sunshine and showers through Sunday. So high pressure still situated across much of England and Wales. Northwestern areas, that's where we have the influence of low pressure. So a wet end to the day across Scotland. Northern Ireland could see some heavy downpours with thunderstorms as we head through this evening and overnight. They'll continue to push their way north and eastwards, all quite slow moving though, so could merge to give some longer spells of rain. Across the far southeast, that's where we hold on to the dry and clearest skies, but still rather warm. Temperatures here still holding up around 15 or 16 degrees. So still quite a warm, mild start to Sunday. Across Orkney and Shetland, that's where we have persistent rain to start the morning. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain still could be on the heavy side, and that's a similar picture across Northern Ireland with a mixture of sunny spells. Across Northern England, showers, and likewise for northern parts of Wales. Across the southeast, though, should be a bright start to Sunday morning. But for all of us, it is going to be feeling fresher out there. We have a change in air mass. There's more in the way of cloud through Sunday. Scattering of showers, mainly out towards the west. Longer spells of rain across Scotland and its northeastern areas of Scotland, where we could see some heavy, possibly thundery showers. But like I mentioned, with that fresher air in place, temperatures closer to the average for the time of year. Across the southeast now, highs of up to 24 degrees. Through Sunday evening, we'll still see spells of rain across Scotland. A few showers in the mix elsewhere, but they'll start easing. And then as we head to start meteorological summer, well, it turns downhill. Low pressure moves in to bring perhaps some welcome rainfall and temperatures returning to average.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the
because
failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Afternoon, it's 2 o'clock and it's Saturday, 30th of May. This is the weekend on GB News. And where is Keir Starmer? Radio silence for a third day from the Prime Minister on the murder of Henry Novak. Why does he seemingly have nothing to say? And GB News' Dougie Beattie is on the Isle of Man, where a controversial sporting event is taking place.
After a week of glorious sunshine and high speeds in qualifying and practicing, the first race, the Superstock, has been cancelled due to weather conditions on the mountain. We'll have more throughout the programme.
We'll have reaction to the huge story that we broke here on GB News for you earlier. Liverpool have sacked Arne Slot just a year after he won the Premier League title. And some good news at last as the youth unemployment crisis reaches fever pitch. We'll be bringing you a 13-year-old entrepreneur who is defying the odds. I'm Christo Fufas. This is The Weekend. And as always, I'm absolutely loving hearing from you on Your Say, gbnews.com/Your Say, getting what you think about some of the big stories we're discussing today. You can join the conversation. Also, scan the QR code on your screens and get involved. Now, before we get stuck into the big stories, here are your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. Your top stories from the GB newsroom at 2:01. Liverpool have sacked head coach Arne Slot after a disappointing defence of their Premier League title. The team have lost 19 times this season, leading fans to turn on the Dutchman. Sources insist the decision was taken with enormous reluctance, admitting it doesn't feel fair to sack a coach who's won the club's second league title in 30 years. Liverpool FC says Slot leaves the Premier League with a Premier League title to his name and the club's deepest gratitude and respect. Donald Trump has outlined his demands for extending the ceasefire with Iran following a meeting with top aides in the Situation Room yesterday. The US president says Iran must agree to never have a nuclear weapon, that the Strait of Hormuz must be reopened, and that any mines in the waterway are destroyed. Iranian officials say its nuclear program is not up for negotiation and that discussions are ongoing. The Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the US is ready to restart attacks on Iran if a deal can't be reached. Australia, the UK and the US are working together to develop unmanned undersea vehicles as part of their AUKUS Defence Pact. The programme includes plans to develop hypersonic artificial intelligence and cyber technologies. At a summit in Singapore, the Defence Secretary John Healey said for too long the trilateral pact had under-delivered, but added that's now changed and reaffirmed Britain's funding of £6 billion over this Parliament.
For too long with AUKUS, we've talked too much and delivered too little. That has now changed, and today we confirm also the first ever signature project under Pillar 2 of AUKUS. This will rapidly give our forces the very most advanced battlefield technologies, as together we produce a range of cutting-edge sensors and weapons systems for undersea drones.
Meanwhile, the UK could send more RAF jets to defend NATO's eastern flank after a Russian drone strike injured 2 people in Romania. The drone hit a block of flats in the east of the country near the border with Ukraine. Sir Keir Starmer described the incident as a serious violation of NATO airspace. Hundreds of migrants are currently making their way across the Channel from France. The first of 3 small boats have already arrived in Dover. It's after 130 people made the journey yesterday. Meanwhile, it's been revealed the Home Office is spending more than £1.2 million a year on Channel rescue boats. The fleet has aided the crossing of more than 70,000 migrants since Labour came into power in 2024. A 16-year-old boy has been charged with murder after a 15-year-old was stabbed during a fight outside a house party in East London on Monday. Police were called to Hackney South after 7 p.m. following reports of a large gathering, disorder and people with machetes in Towpath Walk. Brian David Saldariaga from Haringey was found with stab wounds in Polar Close, and despite efforts by emergency services, he died at the scene. The government has welcomed a vote by Royal Mail workers to accept a deal on working arrangements and pay. Members of the Communication Workers Union accepted the offer, worth 4.5%. Business Secretary Peter Kyle says British posties work hard, but we now need to see what he's called a big improvement in Royal Mail performance for its loyal customers. Those are your latest headlines. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
Hi there, it's Christo here on GB News. Now, I want to talk to you about a story that I can't get past this week. And I can't get past the fact that our Prime Minister has still said absolutely nothing about it now, 3 days after this man's murderer was convicted, this boy really. If anyone doesn't know this story, Henry Novak, and there's a picture of him at his 18th birthday, 18-year-old student. And on the 3rd of December last year, he was murdered by a man named Vikram Digwar. Digwar was a Sikh man, and he claimed it was in self-defence. He said that Novak was drunk and had barged into him, and that was a lie. After stabbing Novak 5 times with an 8-inch blade, Digwar's parents arrived at the scene. His mother took and hid the ceremonial knife, kirpan knife, which is carried by some Sikhs, in order to protect her son and obviously hide what he'd done. Meanwhile, Novak tried to escape after leaving a trail of blood behind him. When the police arrived, Digwar claimed he'd been racially abused by a drunken Novak. Both of those things were lies. Novak wasn't drunk. He hadn't racially abused Digwar. However, despite Novak having extensive stab wounds, the police believed the version by Digwar, the murderer, and handcuffed Novak as he was dying. Novak told the police he'd been stabbed, and they didn't believe him. They told him, actually, he hadn't been stabbed. He told them, and this turned out to be the 18-year-old's final words in handcuffs, "I can't breathe." He then collapsed. He was drowning in his own blood from a stab wound to the chest. It was only then the police took off his handcuffs and administered first aid. But it was too late. He died. What would that poor boy have thought in his dying moments? At a time when he should have been given comfort, when he should have been... when he felt he should have been given comfort, and when he should have felt reassured, and when he should have felt love. Instead, his final moments would have been filled with the injustice of knowing that he was the victim, but was being treated like the one who was guilty. He must have been so scared. He'd been on a night out 1 minute, and then the next stabbed, dying, and those who were meant to help him were treating him as the guilty party. He wouldn't have known, as his life was slipping away, that we'd all eventually find out he wasn't racist and that the accusation was nonsense. He died thinking the world thought he was racist. He died knowing he'd been seen as the guilty one. And imagine that being your final thought. I have respect for the police, but those officers should be fired. It's right they're now being investigated. They're simply too thick or too steeped in political correctness to be serving officers. I'm amazed they haven't resigned in shame. How can you believe that a man who was bleeding to death was a threat? How can you not notice the blood? And let's say it was true. Let's say he'd done the worst thing in the world and he had been racist. Does that justify a stabbing? Justify such retaliation? You can be stabbed and still put in handcuffs. Didn't the officers for just 1 second take a step back and think, what's going on here? Have we got this right? Could we have been lied to? Aren't the police, of all people, meant to have critical thinking skills? No, because as we now know in our society, being called a racist is the worst possible thing. There is nothing worse. Racism is terrible. It's awful. I hate it. I hate that someone could be judged and held back by their skin colour. But we're now so scared of the accusation of racism, we're literally prepared to more or less let a man die in the street because of it. We've seen it elsewhere with grooming gangs. Fear of being called racist, meaning that white girls were literally raped on a mass scale and allowed to be because no one did anything about it. Why? Because solving it or investigating it could lead to the accusation of racism, which is the worst thing ever. And now we've done it again. Racism is abhorrent, but so is allowing crimes to go unpunished because our fear of that accusation. We have got to stop. We've got to stop allowing the fear of racism or being accused of it being put over and above everything else. And Henry Novak died and was wearing handcuffs seconds before he died. He wasn't given the help and kindness that he needed because of it. How have we got here? Where is the condemnation? Where is the sympathy from our leaders? At least the Sikh community have condemned what happened. Why haven't our leaders? Aren't they curious? Don't they care? We need to remember this boy's name, Henry Novak. We need to stop this ridiculousness. We need to be angry about this because too often we're sacrificing our common sense and our decency and calling out what is wrong in our society for fear of racism, and I am sick of it. OK, so we're now joined in the studio by David Shipley, who is a former prisoner and a crime journalist. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me on.
I can't believe this story. I can't believe what that boy went through in his final moments, and we all know how awful it is when you have the injustice of, like, a parking ticket or something that you're accused of and you know that it's wrong. But whereas this guy was accused of the worst thing, and rather than being given love and affection and care and kindness, he was handcuffed and drowned in his own blood. I just can't get my head around it.
Yeah, and we imagine, don't we, how it might have been for him. I know I've thought about it a lot every time I read the details. You know, perhaps when his attacker phoned the police, Henry thought, that's good, they're going to get here, they'll help me out, because you would assume the police would help the victim. And instead they turned up and they chose to prioritise the claims of racism by by Novak's killer and his family over the young man saying, I'm dying, I'm bleeding, I'm in pain, I've been stabbed, you know. It's astonishingly wicked, but I think you're right, of course, that the officers concerned should lose their jobs and perhaps be prosecuted for misconduct in public office, but this is part of a culture. I think that's the important thing. This is the culture of the state, and we talk about why does Keir Starmer not stand up about this? It's because he doesn't care about harms done to the white British people of this country.
Do you think it's that? Do you think that... because I think that... I can't imagine that he doesn't know or care. What I think is happening, and it's almost worse, because I think he knows what I think is happening, and it's not just Keir Starmer, it's other leaders that do this as well, is that it's an easy win to say... you know, we see it from, like, I know that he's not involved in this, but we kind of see it from Sadiq Khan, we see it from other leaders as well, that it's easy to divide and sort of label people as far right or talk about the terrible divisions in our society rather than being balanced on it because it plays to the gallery.
I think that's part of it, but I do actually think there's an institutional anti-white bias in the country. And the reason I say it is not just because of tone, but if you look at, so earlier this year, the government published this big community cohesion strategy called Protecting What Matters, as a forward by the Prime Minister. In that, it talks about hate crime, and it specifically says, it gives examples of people who have been the victims of hate crimes. It talks about Hindus, Muslims, Jews, and even Roma. It doesn't mention a single anti-white hate crime in there. The way the British state sees it is that, you know, hate crime is something which happens to non-white groups. You can't be hate crimed if you are the nation-forming group, the white British. And that is throughout the way the state thinks about this stuff. So I don't think it's just about communication. I do think there's a fundamental difference in how they see different groups.
Why is there a discomfort? Do you know what? I'm going to admit something now. Even I feel uncomfortable you saying that. Do you know what I mean? And I know it's true, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound like I'm sort of having prejudice here, because I'm not. But I even sometimes feel a little, oh God, can we say that when we're talking about it in the context?
Well, that's what the government wrote. They published the report. You know,
I agree. I absolutely get it, and I even know that the problem exists. But even sometimes when we talk about a bias towards white people, my default is to go, oh, actually, is that all right? And then you kind of go, yes, of course, because the evidence says that it's there. But it's almost like, as a nation, we've been programmed to not be objective about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this concept in sort of left social justice spaces that racism can't happen to white people, you know, that white people can't be the victims of racism, and therefore I think perhaps there's a discomfort there. But this is, you know, the government puts this stuff in black and white in the reports. In that same report, by the way, they described the idea that English people are white or kind of broadly Christian as a far-right talking point. They literally... They are very clearly, if you read this report, and it's very long, but it is worth reading, it shows they are frightened of the nation-forming groups of these islands, the British, the Irish, the Scots, the Welsh, and the English.
That's absolutely just completely and utterly insane, because what it means is, of course, you don't solve the problem, and it means that they're not interested in solving the problem. You don't solve problems unless you identify that a problem is there. Yeah, we could talk about this in the context of the grooming gangs as well.
Precisely.
You know, you don't... It's easier to ignore the problem and let the people be sacrificed than actually try and solve the problem and get it out in the open.
Well, this is it. We have this squeamishness, I think, in our governing class. They don't want to talk about these problems.
They're squeamish. I think it's not. It's you're a bit like, ooh, and you're right. You're right.
But the result is, of course, these terrible things happen. They're allowed to continue and continue. And the end point of this is, you know, police officers on the front line turn up and no doubt, you know, full of their anti-racism training, they focus on dealing with the claim of racism, not on the claim that someone's been stabbed.
And do you... I got a lot of, not abuse, but I got a couple of people messaged me last night, because we spoke about this last night when I was on a different show here, on Patrick's show. And I said that although I thought they were awful and moronic and terrible and ridiculous and unforgivable and stupid, I almost felt a bit sorry for the police officers, in as much as they are so indoctrinated and so scared of their own shadow when it comes to the dreaded R word, that they probably have lost all objectivity when it comes to it, and it's almost an indoctrination.
I think it is, and since Macpherson, which was the investigation into the Stephen Lawrence killing, the police have been terrified of being seen as institutionally racist, and so they are, I think, they've gone too far the other way, and all the training and all the focus is on not being racist, by which they mean listening to claims of racism from non-white people. And this is the end point of it. The end point of this ideology is 3 police officers ignoring a dying white boy saying that he's been stabbed because they were listening to this Sikh family saying that he'd been racist. That's where this ideology takes us, and it's an ideology which kills, as we've seen here.
Well, last night when we were talking about it, Patrick was calling it a George Floyd moment, and I don't think it's a million miles away from that. I can't breathe being the last words. Unbelievable.
Terrific.
Listen, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today about this. This is David Shipley, who is a former prisoner and crime journalist. OK. Well, the Sikh community have responded to this awful murder, saying that on behalf of Sikh organisations and communities across the country, we express our deepest condolences for the tragic loss of life. Thoughts and prayers remain with the Novak family and loved ones during this profoundly difficult time. This incident, as reported, does not align with the Sikh faith, the Sikh community, or principles it stands for. Crime and Policing Minister Sarah Jones MP had this to say: "This is a truly horrific case, and my thoughts are with Henry's family and friends. No verdict can undo the pain they're living with, but I hope today brings some small measure of justice. It is right that an IOPC investigation has been launched into the actions of the police to get to the truth." And a spokesman for the Independent Office for Police Conduct said, "Our investigation, which began following a mandatory referral from the force that we received the same day, remains ongoing. The officers involved are currently being treated as witnesses." Meanwhile, Hampshire's Police Deputy Chief Constable Robert France apologised for his officers handcuffing the teenager as he bled to death.
"I'm sorry that Henry's life couldn't be saved that night, and I'm sorry that he was handcuffed and arrested in the moments before he lost consciousness. When his killer made that call to police, and he called the police, not the ambulance service, he lied on that call."
OK. Time for the Great British Giveaway now. Your chance to win a ton of tax-free cash, and here's how you can win.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. Just make sure you don't miss your chance to win £76,543.21 for a chance to win £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Christo here on GB News. Thanks for your company. Loads more coming up as the youth unemployment crisis reaches a fever pitch. Next, well, I'll be talking to someone who's bucking the trend, a 13-year-old entrepreneur. All of that and more right here on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's the weekend. It's Christo here on GB News. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. And, well, let's talk about some good news, actually, because a 13-year-old choir boy has been accepted into the prestigious King's School, Canterbury, after sharing a very impressive story in the newspaper. Malachi Conte runs 3 businesses, not 1, not 2, 3 businesses selling a range of products, Caribbean food, T-shirts, all of those sorts of things, using the profits to fund his £4,000 a term school fees. He also sings, he plays viola and piano, and he started his first business at 6 years old. Puts many of us to shame. 13-year-old entrepreneur Malachi Conte joins me now. Afternoon, Malachi.
Good afternoon.
Why aren't you working? I can't believe you're taking this time off, Malachi.
Well, I'm at school right now, and I'm going back to choir, so yes.
So I suppose anyone watching this would want to know what is motivating you. Most people who are 13 or age 6 when you started, they would be just thinking about hanging out with their mates, playing around, doing stuff like that. What made you want to start making money and being in business?
When I was 6, I wanted to be a chorister, so I had to sell plants in the front of my dad's shop in Camberwell. With the money, I paid for my violin lessons and singing lessons. I went through 10 auditions at different choir schools, and I got into Chichester Cathedral, Salisbury Cathedral, and Alderline College. And I chose Chichester Cathedral, and now I'm the head chorister here.
And then you decided to then go into other businesses, right?
Yes, and we moved to Southampton Way after selling cakes and bread. And now we're in Crystal Palace, 38 Busto Hill, selling Caribbean food, like jerk chicken, rice and peas, pâtés, and drinks. And also now I have, from March, I started a new business called Malachi's Fashion and Clothing, where we have my own brand and we sell different types of clothes. And you can see it in store or on Malachi's on the website, yes.
And what do you do with the money? Because I mentioned what you did with the money there, but remind us what you do with it.
Well, I call it the Trinity, that it goes 3 ways. One way goes to my school fees, another way goes to our charitable work, and another way goes to my savings.
So you're saving money at age 13?
Yes.
Wow. I mean, what would you say to like maybe some other younger people watching today saying, well, what's he doing? Why isn't he going out spending it? Why isn't he buying clothes, buying toys, buying computer games, whatever else? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say save your money for the future because you might need it. And also, if you have a dream, just go for it and don't make anyone discourage you.
What is your dream? What is the ultimate big plan for you, Malachi?
Well, I'd like to carry on with my with my restaurant and also my clothing brand. And also I'd like to work in finance and music when I'm older.
There's a lot in the newspaper at the moment and in the news about the number of young people who don't have a job and don't seem to know what to do with their lives. What would you say to those people? What are you doing differently to them?
Well, I leave the politics to adults, but I'm just happy that I can fund my school fees with the money from my shop.
Well, you know what? You might leave the politics to the adults, but I've got a horrible feeling, and actually I'd say a horrible feeling, it might be a nice feeling, you might be Prime Minister one day, Malachy, and maybe you'll get our economy sorted out. We need some people who've got some business brains in there. But look, congratulations on your success, and congratulations on earning all that money for your school fees and sticking some in savings as well. What a great story. Malachy Conte, really good to talk to you. Thanks for taking the time here on GB News. What a great story. We could do with getting him in the cabinet, right? Maybe we could teach Rachel Reeves how to do some sums and how to be pro-business. In the meantime, why don't we get you up to date on exactly what Rachel Reeves and everyone else is doing. We'll get some reaction, by the way, to that Liverpool story and the sacking of Arne Slot in a moment. But first, well, here are your latest news headlines.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB newsroom. Liverpool have sacked head coach Arne Slot after a year after he led the club to win the Premier League. But the team have lost 19 times this season, leading fans to turn on the Dutchman. Liverpool FC says Slot leaves with the club's deepest gratitude and respect. Donald Trump has outlined his demands for extending the ceasefire with Iran following a meeting with top aides in the Situation Room yesterday. But Iranian officials say it's unclear its nuclear program is not up for negotiation and no deal has been reached yet. Australia, the UK and the US are working together to develop unmanned undersea vehicles as part of their AUKUS Defence Pact. The programme includes plans to develop hypersonic capabilities, artificial intelligence and cyber technology. Hundreds of migrants are currently making their way across the English Channel from France. The first of 3 small boats have already arrived in Dover. It's after 130 people made the journey yesterday. A 16-year-old boy has been charged with murder after a 15-year-old was stabbed during a fight outside a house party in East London on Monday. You're up to date for now. Sam Francis will be here with a full roundup for you at 3 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Nice to see you. Thanks for your company. It's Christo here on GB News. Now remember, as always, gbnews.com/your say if you want to join the conversation on anything that we've been discussing today. Some really strong opinions on the Henry Novak story. We'll get to some of those a little later. Plus, lots more coming up. Next, we'll cross live to the Isle of Man for the latest on the world-famous TT races. Would you believe some of the motorcyclists apparently go more than 200 miles an hour? But I'm not sure that's been happening today. Lots more to come, all here. It's Christo on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Another hot day to come across the southeast before turning fresher, cloudy across the northwest, outbreaks of rain, and then for all of us, turning fresher on Sunday. Low pressure sits to the northwest, high pressure still making an influence across much of England and Wales today. So plenty of blue sky out there. Might turn a little bit hazy at times with some high level cloud, but a damp picture across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Outbreaks of rain here, a little bit breezy as well. But in the sunshine across the southeast, temperatures rising, so up to 29, possibly 30 degrees. The odd shower might break out across the northwest, 15 to 19 degrees. As we go through Saturday evening then, well, it's a damp picture across much of Scotland. Outbreaks of rain could turn heavy at times over the hills. It's Northern Ireland, especially across the southeast, where we could see some thunderstorms developing later on in the evening. So some torrential downpours are possible here. Elsewhere across England and Wales, some cloud will build in, but otherwise a warm evening to come. As we head through Saturday evening and overnight, spells of rain persisting across Scotland, moving its way north and eastwards. Those showers continuing to push their way into Scotland as well, still heavy in nature before further showers arrive across Northern Ireland. Across the southeast, dry here, and it is still rather warm to start Sunday morning. Temperatures around 12 to 14 degrees. As we start Sunday, there will be outbreaks of rain across much of Scotland. Actually, this band of rain is going to be quite slow moving, and there'll be some showers, especially across the northeast of Scotland, that could turn heavy and thundery. Elsewhere, it's a day of sunny spells, showers, a bit more in the way of cloud, and for all of us, it is going to be feeling fresher out there. Highs this time around 24 degrees. Bye-bye.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Thanks so much for your company. It's Christo here on GB News. Now for the day's huge breaking news from the world of football. And it's not Arsenal playing, it's Liverpool stunning the world of football by sacking Arne Slot. Liverpool says it was a difficult decision. Slot leaves with their deepest gratitude and appreciation after he led them to that Premier League title last year. Well, let's now talk live to former Liverpool midfielder Nigel Spackman. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, Nigel, this afternoon here on GB News. I mean, it's an interesting statement. Your deepest gratitude as you're being fired.
Christo, that's football for you, isn't it? But I think Arne coming in the first season, taking over from Jurgen Klopp, winning the title was probably a surprise to a lot of people. And then second season syndrome, it hasn't been so good. Started the season very well, 5 wins on the trot, not playing great football. And then slipping away, conceding too many goals, not scoring enough goals. The outlay of about 400 million in the summer, it's a bit of a transition, but I just think performances haven't been good enough. Fans get disgruntled, and at Liverpool, you're always expected to be knocking on the door of winning the league. And unfortunately for Liverpool and Arne Slot, they were 25 points behind Arsenal come the end of the season.
And were fans calling for this? Do you think that this is a decision that the fans will be behind?
I think it will, unfortunately for Arne. I think they did take to him in the first season, and winning the title was fantastic. I just think that some of the performances this season, the style of play has not been good. Had injury problems along the way as well, Christo, but that doesn't paper over the cracks. The fallout with Mo Salah didn't help. Andrew Robertson is leaving. It looks like Kanate is leaving. And I think they need a change of direction. And maybe the players need a change of voice in the dressing room and on the training ground. And I think that's why Arne's gone. And I think the fans will be behind it, most of them.
What do you think went wrong? Because it was only a year ago that they were sort of top of their game, and then they went on this huge spending spree. So on paper, you'd think, great, they were going to be elevating it even more. But actually, it went the other way. Yeah,
but sometimes you bring in too many players into a squad, Christo, and destabilises it a little bit. It didn't help that Isak came in very late and then got injured. Wirtz found it very difficult in the first sort of 3-4 months to get used to the physicality of the Premier League. And the manager's trying to deal with that. And also, you don't forget, a lot of people were saying, well, Arne only won the league because Jurgen Klopp left him a great team. And second season, you've got to try and integrate all these new players into a playing system. And it hasn't worked. OK, he's been unfortunate, I think, with a lot of injuries and destabilisation within the team. But Liverpool were fortunate to finish in the top 5 and get a Champions League place. And that is the biggest thing, that they're in the Champions League. But what happens now? New manager, new players, some going, some coming. It's a big job because you've got to get success, but you're trying to change the dynamics within the squad going forward and get results, Christo.
And how significant was it that actually players spoke out against him rather than fans sort of down the pub discussing it? You know, like you say, Mo Salah, some of the high-profile players as well, liked posts, didn't they, criticising him. That's significant, right?
Well, it's very significant. And I think a lot of Liverpool supporters would say, well, you shouldn't be, airing your views in public. But football, as we know, as society, it's very public these days. And you say something, that's why I'm not on Instagram or any of those, Christo, a bit like yourself. WhatsApp's about my limit. But, you say things on there and everybody picks up on it. The story gets blown out of proportion. But, Mo's going. Maybe it was a year too long for Mo. But we'll have to wait and see. But whoever comes in, it's a fantastic job. Liverpool Football Club is an institution. It's a great job for someone.
All right, former Liverpool midfielder Nigel Spatman, thanks for taking the time to talk to GB News this afternoon on that breaking story. As we stick to football here on GB News, Arsenal are preparing to take on Paris Saint-Germain this evening in Budapest. And we've been out and about asking whether the Gunners can bring the Champions League title home.
It's been a long time, but I think we're going to do it. I'm going to go 2-1.
I think 1-0. Defensive masterclass. Yeah.
I think they'll score, dude.
No, defensive masterclass.
I don't think it'll be enough.
I think we got enough. I think we got enough. Yeah.
I think we're going to do it. I think it's going to be 1-0. But if PSG get that first goal over the line, then I'm going to be a bit worried. But I believe.
I'm backing Arsenal. Hopefully Arsenal do it because even though I'm not an Arsenal fan, I'm a Londoner, so I want them to bring it back.
I think they could get it. I just think final is about certain moments, and they're so strong defensively and on set pieces that probably both teams go out conservative, and yeah, I can see them doing well.
So there you go, lots of football coming up. But in the meantime, here on GB News, you've been letting me know what you think about some of the big stories that we have been discussing. gbnews.com/your say. I don't normally let the news affect me, says Grumpy Grandad. This is on the tragic case of Henry Novak. But Henry's case has really got to me, I won't lie. It's so wrong. And Starmer's silence on it speaks volumes. He's a disgrace. I'm ashamed to admit he is our PM. Well, there has been an MP and a policing minister that has spoken on it. We should make that point clear. But you're absolutely right. The Prime Minister doesn't need to prejudice any kind of police investigation into their conduct by simply saying what happened was awful. My huge condolences to the family. He tweets about everything else and about Arsenal. Henry's family, says Smiling Sandy, there's nothing as a nation we can say to stop the pain. I can only say, along with the majority of this country, and send love and the feelings of disgust and contempt to the police and the government. Thank you very much indeed for that as well. And some of you as well, I know I had a little wobble earlier, and I'm so sorry when I was talking about it. And some of you have sent some really beautiful and lovely and kind comments about that. And I really appreciate them. I'm not going to read them out, but I thank you very much indeed for that. And sorry about the wobble. It's too easy, says Skirdy, to chastise, blame, claim human rights against the police. They can't even look at you without getting dragged through some sort of disciplinary action. Well, that's what I was saying when this is a symptom. This isn't what the police did, as ridiculous and moronic and awful as it was, is a symptom of a much bigger problem. It's really easy just to chastise them, and we should, but there is more here. And they were probably scared to death of their own shadow, of even maybe saying, are you sure racism took place here? Because they're so worried about getting chastised or being hauled over the coals or whatever else. That is a symptom. It's not the sole problem. Thank you for that one as well. And a really nice comment as well about Maliki. What a smartly dressed, this is our young entrepreneur we spoke to, smartly dressed, confident and well-mannered young lad who's a credit to his parents, running his own businesses to fund his education, still continuing to go to school during the week, even on a Saturday, learning at the same time. Magnificent, amazing and hard-working all come to mind. Thank you for that. Nice to get a bit of good news as well on that one, especially in the context of the number of young people that aren't facing opportunities and finding opportunities at the moment. All right, it's Christo here on GB News. Lots more coming up. One of my favourite people on GB News, Dougie, we'll be talking to him because we'll cross live to the Isle of Man. 50,000 flocking to the island to watch the world-famous TT races. But in the meantime, well, some holiday sun for you. Here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading away this weekend, there will be some showers here and there across eastern areas of Europe, but mostly plenty of sunny and dry weather. You can see a few showers dotted around Greece and Turkey. Italy seeing the odd shower as well, but mostly it's going to be a predominantly dry and sunny picture if you're heading to parts of Europe. Across Madeira and to the Canary Islands as well, there'll be plenty of warm sunshine. Temperatures generally in the high 20s, if not low 30s. Have a good day.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
In May 2006, Guy Goma, a 38-year-old graduate, finance graduate from the Republic of Congo, arrived at the BBC for a job interview only to be wrongly ushered on air. In a clip that's now gone, of course, very, very viral.
Yeah, we all remember it, don't we? Well, here to tell their story, let's speak to former BBC producer Elliot Gotkin and Guy Goma himself. And we have got the right guy this morning. Guy, let's start with you, shall we? That clip is just fantastic, isn't it? It's gone viral all around the world. When did you realise they'd got the wrong guy?
You know, first of all, I want to say something. You know, this studio is different with the studio from the BBC.
Of course,
of course. It's quite different. The one from the BBC, when I reached there, I didn't know, to be honest with you, I didn't know it was a studio.
Right.
Oh!
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know. Because when they tried to put a makeup on me, I said, no, I don't need that. And they just said to me, go and sit down there. And where I was sitting, there was only 2 stools there.
Yeah.
On that stool, I sat on one of the stools and I was waiting. I was hanging like that on one of the stools, playing my game. Then as soon as I saw the journalist came, she sat and she started talking. This is Guy Kuno. And the screen, because the screen was on the top, like that, like wherever like it. The screen was there. All the screen came on and I saw my face there. I said, God, I'm lost.
Up until that moment, Guy was still expecting his job interview. Just
Right.
Oh, so you thought you were there for a job interview?
Yes. Yeah, and so was there cameras in the room when you walked in or anything that made you a little bit suspicious?
No.
Nothing.
Everything, I think maybe they had it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Nice to see you. It's Christo here on GB News. This is, of course, the weekend, and thousands of motorbike fans are in the Isle of Man for the world-famous TT races. Bad news for everyone, though, after the opening day of racing was cancelled. But good news, because now at least we can talk to GB News' reporter, Dougie Beattie, who is there. Dougie, what's happening?
Well, good afternoon, and there's not much happening after a week of beautiful sunshine during practices and qualifying. Some record-breaking times on the circuit. This morning we all got up, there was mist everywhere. That goes into the mountain. Of course, this race course takes you into the mountain round at 37 3/4 mile track, and the mist there has now started to move down into Douglas itself. Some rain here coming in the last few minutes, so they have cancelled the first race of the day, the super stock race. Now, people have travelled from right around the world. It's estimated nearly 60,000 people are here, and take it that the population of the Isle of Man is only 85,000, so what a massive boost to their hospitality sector. And I caught up with a few of them to find out why they're here and where they've came from. How far have you two travelled?
From all the way from New Zealand.
And you know, what's so special about the TT? What makes you come here?
Oh, it's just a way of life, isn't it? See the bikes up close.
Yeah, you don't see this anywhere else in the world, do you?
No, exactly. No, it's fantastic.
And I mean, do you come here every year, or was it a planned trip that you wanted to do? Your wife's looking a little bit, yeah, she's not happy there.
Once in a lifetime.
Yeah, this is our first time. Bucket list item.
Well, I hope that man does get seen races, because his wife did look a little bit, this is the one trip that he was allowed our whole married life, and the poor man's came the whole way from New Zealand. There's people here from America, right across the world. I mean, it's amazing the amount of people in the TT are at this place. In fact, I couldn't get a hotel room. I'm staying in a campsite out the road in a tent for the last 3 nights, which there's nothing wrong with, of course, but it's right beside the track and suits me very well indeed. But Christo, the speeds here have been over 200 miles an hour in parts of this circuit. There was unfortunately one death earlier on the week, and a serious sidecar accident has made the sidecar races all be cancelled here. So there's 8 races left across the next 7 days. This one's cancelled today. It doesn't look as if there's room in the schedule to put it back in again, so that'll be down to one super stock race. The Superbike is to go tomorrow at 1:30. Here's hoping that the weather cheers up a little bit to let this massive festival of motorcycling go ahead. And I must say, Christo, I have never been made feel so welcome. People are so excited to see GB News here, and I'm going to do something totally unprofessional. I've been told by a husband that has obviously scammed his way here away from his wife. I have to say hello to Sue from Ilford. So hello, Sue. Your husband told me to say that. Hopefully you know he's here.
Poor Sue. She's probably stuck. She's probably like choking on her gin and tonic at the moment now, thinking, where is he? What's he doing there? He has no idea. But also, I'm most shocked to find out, Dougie, that you're staying in a campsite.
I am, yes. I'm staying in a tent. Just out the road here. 3 nights, £120. They supply the tent, the airbeds, everything else. Why wouldn't you? And the campsite is full of motorcycle enthusiasts. You get a real feel of what is going on this island. The hotels, the bars, the restaurants are absolutely rammed, and it's any wonder that the Isle of Man government want to continue doing this.
All right, Dougie, thank you. Nice to see you. That's Dougie Beattie there for us in the Isle of Man. I mean, he asked, you know, why wouldn't you camp? I mean, where do I start? I don't camp, I am camp. OK, let's do some of what you have to say here on GB News. Claiming what happened, this is going back to Henry Novak, was racist, is itself racist and an attempt to pervert the course of justice. It needs to be made a criminal offence to claim racism falsely and be treated as such because it destroys society and should be prosecuted accordingly. Interesting. So a false accusation of racism being a criminal offence. I mean, certainly it had the most tragic consequences in this case. Absolutely awful. A few others here as well. gbnews.com/your say. Thank you as well again for your kind comments. I'm not going to read them all, but you've been really, really lovely today. 50,000 going to the TT, says John Paul. 60,000 going to Wembley. What a day as well. So absolutely wonderful for that as well. Everyone knows that actions speak much louder than words in general, and especially in politics. Starmer's colossal lack of action speaks for itself. Thank you very much indeed for that one as well. And again about Starmer, he's incapable of human empathy. He's a cyborg and programmed by Macron and others as well. So there you go. Not much love for Starmer, but much love to you as well. And thank you so much for your company. Really nice to have you on board. That is it from me today, but don't go anywhere. She is the queen of GB News. Her show is unmissable. Coming up next, it's Nana Akua right here on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last of the hot spell today, especially in the southeast, with cloud and outbreaks of rain in the northwest before turning fresher with sunshine and showers through Sunday. So high pressure still situated across much of England and Wales. Northwestern areas, that's where we have the influence of low pressure. So a wet end to the day across Scotland. Northern Ireland could see some heavy downpours with thunderstorms as we head through this evening and overnight. They'll continue to push their way north and eastwards, all quite slow moving though, so could merge to give some longer spells of rain. Across the far southeast, that's where we hold on to the dry and clearest skies, but still rather warm. Temperatures here still holding up around 15 or 16 degrees. So still quite a warm, mild start to Sunday. Across Orkney and Shetland, that's where we have persistent rain to start the morning. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain still could be on the heavy side, and that's a similar picture across Northern Ireland with a mixture of sunny spells. Across Northern England, showers, and likewise for northern parts of Wales. Across the southeast, though, should be a bright start to Sunday morning. But for all of us, it is going to be feeling fresher out there. We have a change in air mass. There's more in the way of cloud through Sunday. Scattering of showers, mainly out towards the west. Longer spells of rain across Scotland, and it's northeastern areas of Scotland where we could see some heavy, possibly thundery showers. But like I mentioned, with that fresher air in place, temperatures closer to the average for the time of year. Across the southeast now, highs of up to 24 degrees. Through Sunday evening, we'll still see spells of rain across Scotland. A few showers in the mix elsewhere, but they'll start easing and